For Winnipeg Blue Bombers quarterback Kerwin Bell, it's his turn to replace an injured starter. Kahari Jones, who replaced a banged-up Bell for a couple of weeks, took a beating last week versus Toronto and won't start tonight. But Bell will be without his best receiver, Milt Stiegel, who will miss his second straight game with a knee injury. That means it will be up to veteran Robert Gordon to lead a young receiving corps against the mighty Stampeders. And they'll need to score if they're going to keep up with Calgary. Quarterback Dave Dickinson already has 20 touchdown passes. His hardest decision is who should get the ball. How about Travis Moore, who seems to always be finding the end zone? Or Alan Pitts, 9 catches away from being #1 in all-time receptions. Vince Danielson is back from injury and he'll want the ball. And Mark Fulrichter is an early thought for Rookie of the Year. If you like offense, stick around. You should see the scoreboard lit up next. McMahon Stadium in Calgary, Alberta, where the only undefeated team tries to stay that way against the victory-starved Bombers on the CFL Live. Well, from Kornikova to Schultz, there's a programming change for you. Hey, folks, we are the 4 remaining castaways on Survivor Island: James Duthie, Eric Tillman, Matt Dunnigan, and the aforementioned Chris Schultz. And maybe the rest of the CFL should form an alliance to stop the Stampeders. It may be the only way. They are a lethal scoring machine, especially at McMahon Stadium. In their 3 games at home, they've outscored the opponents 116-41. And Pitts, Moore, and Dickinson all chasing major CFL records. It's Bombers beware tonight.
Oh, it really is. And the guy leading him is Dave Dickinson, James. We're just learning about this quarterback. He's been with the system since '96. This is his 2nd year starting. He's coming into his own almost magically. He's a universal product from Montana. And he's been he's Walter Payton Award winner. It's equivalent to the Heisman and the Heck Crichton Award. This guy is talented, and he's showing it to me every week. One thing jumps up from week to week: leadership. And then the next week, it's speed. And then the next week, it's just poise. And the next week, it's toughness. Dave Dickinson's complete package. And very quickly, he's erasing those fond memories of Jeff Garcia and Doug Flutie.
Well, Matty, one of the things you've always talked about is the role that the offensive linemen have played in your success. And if you talk to Dave Dickinson or Calgary offensive coordinator George Cortez, it's absolutely no different. They talk about that group and what they bring to the football team. The fact that they've only given up 1 sack in 9 quarters, that says a lot about them. The fact that the Calgary Stampeders are 2nd in the Canadian Football League in rushing, right behind the Montreal Alouettes. And when you can run the football, it sets up play action and really takes a lot of pressure off Dave Dickinson. So let's give a tip of the hat to the unsung heroes of the guys in the red jerseys, the offensive linemen, James.
And having said all that about Calgary, we know the Bombers have a tough task tonight, also because they're beat up and they don't like going into McMahon, Chris.
You know, Winnipeg really has some issues to deal with tonight. I mean, the present personnel is not really the best, in the previous performances against Calgary. Nailed that one. Matty aren't the best either. Right now, they have a brand new guard in Rob Lazio. They have a new defensive back in Marcus Washington. It's not that they can't play football. It's the fact they've only been with the team in 2 or 3 preparation days. Because of that, they're not that familiar with terminology. They're not that familiar with the people they're playing around. I see mistakes. The previous performances, well, the last 8 times Winnipeg has played Calgary in McMahon, they have come out losing. They have lost the last 10 out of the 11. This is really tough for Winnipeg to win. There is a way that they can win, but I have to tell you later because I'm running out of time, James.
And 3 of the Bombers' 4 losses so far this season have come by a total of 8 points. So they've been close, but they haven't been able to push it over the top. Tonight, it might be a challenge just to stay close. With more on this game, let's check in with John Wells and Glenn Suter in Calgary.
James, the Stampeders are unbeaten and unchanged. That is bad news for the Blue Bombers, who have to come in here tonight without their best player, Milt Stegall. And then there's the question of who should be the #1 quarterback in Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Yeah, when you look at the numbers for both quarterbacks, Kahari Jones and Kerwin Bell, they're fairly close. Kahari Jones has thrown for more yardage, but he's also thrown 5 more interceptions than Bell. There's 3 reasons why Bell will start tonight. 1, he's not as banged up as Kahari Jones. Number 2, Jones is coming off a tough game versus Toronto last week. And the 3rd reason is Bell had his best game of the season versus Calgary in week 2.
And that was the week that the Winnipeg Blue Bombers thought they should have beaten the Calgary Stampeders. In fact, even the Calgary Stampeders looked at it that way.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. We'll check in with them a little bit later on. But when we return on the CFL Live, we want to look ahead to the other games in the CFL. Isn't that special? Argos need to fix the punt and kick game against the Lions. Al's got beat up last week. They'll try to rebound. And Saskatchewan still looking for a win. That's next.
CFL football on TSN is brought to you by Molson Canadian. I am Canadian.
Your players of the week from week 6, Archie Amerson, 2 long TD catches plus 105 kick return yards. Wayne Shaw from the Argos on defense returned a pick for a TD and caused a couple of key knockdowns as well. Fred Perry had pressure on Kahari Jones all night long, 2 sacks and a forced fumble. And Ozzie was solid for the Ticats, 5 field goals, including a couple of clutch ones in the 4th quarter. Well, finally, the Toronto Argonauts may have found their collective soulmate, a team with as much trouble and turmoil as them. It is the BC Lions, a team that went from the brink of the Grey Cup game to the brink of disaster. Those 2 struggling teams hook up tomorrow night, and our Farhan Lalji has a preview.
Thursday's game between the Lions and Argos will be the first of a 2-game series that will go a long way towards deciding the future of both of these franchises. In their last 8 games combined, neither team has managed to win, and as a result, both coaching staffs are feeling the heat.
I obviously, feel the pressure, yeah. I mean, it's a lot of internal pressure. Nobody has said you've got to win this game or you're gone. Are you here to bury Caesar? So be it. Ectu brute.
I basically try to insulate myself from reading newspapers and sports shows and TV. I really try to just stay focused as to what we have to do from within our organization in preparation and getting ready for the next team.
Damon Allen enters this game just 4 completions away from Ron Lancaster's all-time CFL record of 3,381 completions. Nonetheless, the Lions are in the early stages of a quarterback controversy, with Allen having struggled in 3 of his last 4 outings.
And if it's their decision to pull me or whatever, I'll be professional about it and, pull up my pants and be ready to play if they call me again.
You want to play. I said it when I came here. I came here to play and start, and I don't want to sit on the bench. And so any opportunity I get to play, you got to go out and play well and then prove to the guys on your team and the coaching staff that you can play and you can play well.
Marcelo Simmons and Tom Hips returned to Vancouver after being traded to the Argos last week. But for Dan Giancola and Johnny Scott, who are also facing their former teams, things were a little more personal. Scott was let go by the Lions, who claimed he didn't play hard on every down, while Giancola engaged in some verbal sparring with Argos GM J.I. Albrecht prior to leaving for the Buffalo Bills training camp.
I have nothing to prove to him. He treated me the way he treated me, and that's totally in his part, not mine. I just want to play football.
I think I'll be able to exploit the 3 guys inside. I know them well, and I know their moves, and they know me well, and they know my moves. But I think since I've been traded, I've risen my game to a different level.
The Lions are promoting this game as Extreme Night, offering a free pair of tickets to the first 100 fans who show up to the game with an extreme body piercing in a suitable region. But perhaps of more extreme importance to the future of their head coach would be for his team to snap their 4-game losing streak. Farhan Lalji, TSN, Vancouver.
Thank you, Farhan. I wonder if J.I.'s got anything pierced. 142-54, the Lions have been outscored during that losing streak. Argos have also won 3 in a row in Vancouver, and the Argos at least have something to build on that tie against Winnipeg last week. The Lions, they are all messed up, and this is an interesting battle between 2 struggling teams.
You know it is, and to me, the heck with the offense, heck with the defense. I think the team that wins is the team that can kick the ball, can cover kicks, can punt the ball, can cover the punts. I mean, if you win that specific battle, I think you win this football game. I mean, last week against Winnipeg, Toronto had 270 return yards. They had 2 blocked punts, and they missed a 29-yard field goal. BC Lions, they really aren't any better. They have had blocked punts. And remember, Marvin Coleman, he returned a kick for a touchdown. If there's one area, one specific area I'm looking at, who's going to, at the end, win the special teams battle? I think, Eric, that determines everything.
Problems, problems, problems.
Lots of problems.
In both of these places. In Toronto, as you mentioned, the special teams have just been absolutely abysmal. In fact, John Heward has taken over that area from Coach Pasquale, and they have to play better if they're going to have a chance to win. In British Columbia, Greg Mons is under the gun. After a 2-0 start, they've now lost 4 straight. They were talking Grey Cup aspirations out there. Now they're just hoping to make the playoffs. People are questioning their coaching. They're questioning their offense. They're questioning their defense. Heck, they're even questioning their character and their efforts. So in British Columbia, it's getting close to put up or shut up time, Matt.
Yeah, it is. And I think with BC, you talk offensively, they're still looking for their identity there, whether to run a spread offense or a double back offense, a 2-back offense that Damon Allen, history has proved, thrives in. In Edmonton, 93 Grey Cup, he had a great tandem in front of him, and he was more effective coming off the edge and having play action to go deep. With all the problems, that injury with the receivers, this exemplifies the situation of the running game and what offense they are and aren't going to run. At this point in the season, when you don't know, that spells a lot of problems, James.
All right, we're going to take a break and give the boys some smelling salts. When we will return, we'll preview the other Friday games, including a Battle of the Green. Nealon takes on the Riders. We'll preview that one next. Still winless in 15 and desperate to break out of that. A battle of 2 young QBs, Chris.
Well, 2 young QBs that are very enjoyable to watch. And Nealon Green for the Edmonton Eskimos, I see speed and I see smarts. All you have to do is go to the football stadium. You're going to notice how fast this young man is instantaneously. In smarts, Nealon Green has thrown 1 interception in his last 91 attempts. That means he is making great decisions under pressure with that football. And Henry Burris, well, I mean, the potential is unlimited, and he has such a genuine enthusiasm for football. If Henry Burris keeps on his present pace, he'll have thrown 42 touchdowns. That's remarkable considering his inexperience. Henry Burris is the best long ball throwing quarterback in the CFL, and that's going to produce some points. These 2 quarterbacks, I think, are excellent, Matty.
No, I agree, Chris, and I love the way Henry does go deep, and I like Nealon Green's speed, and that's what exemplifies the Edmonton Eskimos, confidence and speed. They're mimicking their head coach, Don Matthews, with the confidence, and he certainly exudes that, and his team is playing with extreme speed. Offensively, special teams, and on defense, and I think what shows this is defensive end number 92, Robert Brown, tracking down the league's leading rusher, and Mike Pringle. The effort alone is extraordinary, and it takes his teammates to a different level. Terry Ray eventually knocks out Pringle from the game, and then they knock out Anthony Calvillo. This team is simply playing with a lot of pride, enthusiasm, and Don Matthews is sitting back loving every minute of it.
There's, last week, there's no question that Edmonton was a hammer and Montreal was a nail, but it's hard to maintain that emotional advantage every week. And after 4 straight wins, I think this Edmonton football team could be a little vulnerable. Anybody that's been in the Canadian Football League will tell you just how tough it is to go to Taylor Field. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders are a much, much better football team than their record indicates. This week, if Edmonton is anything less than 100% ready emotionally for this football game, it could be the week that Saskatchewan finally gets that elusive first win, James.
And they're waiting for it desperately out in Regina. Now, as for the other game, well, it's from the file of what else is new. Hamilton and Montreal once again playing for first place in the East. It seems every time they've met the last couple of years, it's been exactly for that. Now, Montreal has dominated the regular season meetings. They've won 3 of the last 4 at Ivor Wynne and have won 5 of 7 overall, but those stats don't show they've lost the 2 big games in the Eastern Final, and Montreal comes into this one after getting beaten last week and beat up.
Well, we talked about the fact that they were pounded last week, but I think the best football teams respond to adversity, and Charlie Taft has done a great job with this football team. You know, one of the things I also like about the game coming up this weekend from Montreal's perspective is they finally get Thomas Haskins back in the lineup, a multi-dimensional player, and he really creates a lot of problems, particularly in terms of matchups, Chris.
You know, Eric, I agree, but for the Hamilton Ticats, I think this month is going to make or break their season. They got 5 straight games against Eastern Conference opponents. The first tiebreaker in playoff opportunities is those Eastern Conference games within your own division for the Hamilton Ticats. But still, something is wrong. Hamilton defensively gave up 4 big plays totaling 200 yards. There's something missing in that defensive football team. Matty, they've already made some personnel changes.
Yeah, they have, Chris. They've been making them all year long, and the defending Grey Cup champions simply just don't know where it's going to stop. Don Southern, my hat's off to him. He's doing a fabulous job over there defensively. That's why they're 4-2 right now. They had 6 rookies on that defensive squad playing last week. On the corner, Ivory. He was put in there because why? Donald Smith was busy passing a gallbladder stone. So, hey, all kinds of stuff happens in the CFL. They've got 2 rookie linebackers. They got a rookie D lineman, and then we know about Urias and Parker on the corners. These guys are simply playing some good football. That's why Hamilton's 4-2 right now.
You could just say he's hurt, okay? Just say,
give him the goods.
Details, graphic details. All right, when we return, we will get you ready for our game. For the Stamps this season, it's been more and more and more and more and Danielson and Pitts and Bo Richter, all of them, next.
The kids are late for T-ball. I gotta run.
Okay.
Could you do something about the yard? If you're not too busy.
No matter what your idea of adventure is, there's a vehicle for you. At Honda's Summer Adventure event, like Canada's best sellers, the superbly equipped Civic Special Editions. Whoa.
Sorry. Look, it was my fault.
No, my fault.
I apologize.
Let me put your mouth guard down. My bad. I'm sorry. It won't happen again.
They always this polite.
Uh-huh.
Man, that's just weird.
Need a Band-Aid?
Why do you think it takes you guys 4 downs to get 10 yards? We only need 3 up there.
Because we always make mistakes.
Oh, we're just kind of slow, you know, laid back. Got to get an extra down in before we can get our 10 yards.
You know, they give us 1 just in case.
I love 4 downs. First down, second down, third down, you know, fourth down.
You're saying you're better than us.
They want the game to go slower, I guess, for the commercials.
Y'all are obviously better. Must be the long winters, maybe?
They have longer legs. Are they faster? Is there, you know, better gene pool?
All right, time now for our insider with the one and only Eric Tillman. And this week we want to talk about a defensive player and now former defensive player with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, Lamar McGriggs, who's been an effective player for a lot of times, was a key part of the defense last year, all of a sudden released. What happened?
Well, you know, Ron Lancaster's a strong guy. And, you know, when you have a veteran football coach, he expects everybody, it doesn't matter how much you've done in the past, to play a role. Lamar McGriggs was freelancing. He wasn't playing the defense the way Don Southern wanted it done. And he's now on the streets. That happens.
Now, he is a talented athlete.
Yeah, he is.
Is anybody likely to pick him up?
Yeah, and talking to Dave Ritchie today, there's a possibility that the Bombers might be interested. He wants to wait and see how they come out of the game, how they play. But Dave Ritchie has tremendous respect for Lamar McGriggs. Heck, a lot of people in the league do. You know, it was a tough decision to make in Hamilton, and you've got to credit Ron Lancaster for making that strong decision, because it doesn't necessarily help his football team, but if he believes it's the right thing to do long term, it's the best thing.
All right, thanks very much, Eric. Now, each football play lasts an average of, about 6 seconds. Our boys could talk about it for 6 hours. Virtual replay is a compromise somewhere in the middle. Here's virtual.
Virtual replay brought to you by Molson Canadian. I am Canadian.
Matt, Dave Dickinson's red zone efficiency has been amazing. He has 20 touchdown passes in 6 games. Well, here they are again in the red zone. What does he see that makes this play work?
Well, Chris, he's seeing exactly what any quarterback wants to see. He's seeing one-on-one or man coverage across the formation. They're running a 4-2 formation, 2 receivers to the boundary and 4 receivers to the field. George Cortez loves this play, and they do it with high efficiency down in the red zone. Why? Because of their preparation and ability to make the play. Here you see one-on-one coverage across the board. Cummins one-on-one, Moore one-on-one, Pitts, Bo Richter, Danielson, and Arlane. One-on-one across the board. Dave Dickinson's biggest challenge is to pick out who he wants to throw a touchdown pass to. He chooses Travis Moore, the touchdown guy for the Calgary Stampeders, and why not? He's got 8 in 6 games already. Here we see that Raphael Ball has inside leverage on Travis Moore. That means he's playing on this side of Travis. Travis knows that he's going to run the corner route, and he's got 24 yards from this hash to the boundary all over here. Dickinson knows that too. He simply chooses the right guy, makes the throw, pitch and catch. Chris, this is just too easy.
Matt, I think we're going to see more touchdown passes like this tonight.
All right, good job, boys. I hate to be a Bomber defensive back going into this game. Well, as for the Bombers, you know, this is a mismatch on paper, but remember the Bombers in Calgary took them to overtime, but that was in Winnipeg. They've had a lot of trouble Winnipeg has had in the past in Calgary. With more on that and the game, John Wells and Glenn Suter at McMahon.
James, the Bombers hope that they can finish the frustration here in Calgary tonight. They have found a way to lose 3 games they truly should have won.
Yeah, and there were 3 games against arguably the best 3 teams in the Canadian Football League right now. When you look at those games, they had a chance after having a 15-point lead to beat Calgary with a field goal and missed it. Go into Edmonton, have a chance with the field goal to go into overtime and miss it. And then against Montreal, again with the lead, they lose it. With 1 second left on the clock, lost 3 big games by a total of 8 points. It's a frustrated team that needs to find a way to finish.
Yeah, and that all comes down to place kicker Troy Westwood, whose frustration continues as he lines up against the Stampeders tonight.
John, for most players, the game is mental and physical. For the kicker, it's 90% mental. From upright to upright, it's about 18 feet 6 inches across. For Troy Westwood right now, it's got to look like about 5 inches. I talked to him yesterday in practice, though, and he said he'd love the game to come down to him.
When you look at the Bombers, they've got 2 quarterbacks who they have used effectively at times this year. Kerwin Bell is expected to get the start tonight, but we might see Kahari Jones before it's all over.
Well, yeah, Kerwin Bell is less banged up than Kahari Jones. Kahari Jones has a bad ankle, and I think that Dave Ritchie is making less of that ankle injury than it really is. It looked pretty bad in warm-up. So Bell gets the start. Not only that, but Kerwin Bell played his best game of the season in Week 2 versus the Calgary Stampeders. Now, having said that, he had 171 of his over 300 yards passing to Milt Stegall.
Yeah, so when you look at it tonight, Kerwin Bell gets the start. Kahari Jones may see some action in relief, and the Bombers are desperate to win one.
And picking up on that, here are your starting quarterbacks, brought to you by Robin's Donuts, still rocking after all these years. You heard about Kerwin Bell, longtime veteran in the CFL, fighting that calf injury, but he is back and confident about his chances. Dave Dickinson, you talk about confidence. This guy has been on an unbelievable roll. Remember, the all-time record for touchdowns in a season is 48 by Doug Flutie. He is already, well, on a pace to get 60, which would absolutely shatter the record. Terrific matchup between coaches in this game, too. Dave Ritchie and Wally Buono, 2 of the longtime coaches in the CFL, and 2 old friends. They met first when they were assistant coaches under Joe Galat with the Alouettes in 1983, became good friends, vacation in Hawaii every year. This will be no vacation whatsoever. These teams, these guys, when it comes to football, friendship gone.
Yeah, the friendship is gone, but what impresses me about both these guys is they have the ability to help their players maintain focus. I mean, the bottom line, the players, it's up to them. Their mindset before the game is everything. But if you have a good head football coach or an assistant, he will say something right before you go on that field. He will say something right before you're in that locker room ready to go, and he will help your mindset. Both of these coaches know the psychology of football more than anything else, James.
All right, they are ready at McMahon Stadium, and we are ready as well. The Bombers and the Stamps are coming up. Dave Dickinson and company trying to keep his troops undefeated. We'll get you ready for kickoff next.
I toured with Crocus in '83. Yeah, I was there for every show.
Another big crowd in Calgary where it's the always close but not quite enough Bombers against the never close, always more than enough Stampeders on the CFL Live. Hey folks, how are you? Welcome to the CFL Live. James Duthie along with my regular crew of friends, Eric Tillman, Matt Dunnigan, and Chris Schultz. And you know, it's a funny thing about that McMahon Stadium. Everybody wants to play there in November, but nobody wants to play there now. Of course, Calgary hosting the Grey Cup later on this year. That's every team's dream, but right now it's a nightmare to go into McMahon and face the Stamps. All those offensive weapons, and also pretty good ones on D as well.
Yes, James, that's the way it's supposed to be. When you come into my house, when you come into the Calgary Stampeders' backyard, they're supposed to be stingy. They're only relinquishing 13 points a game there. That's tremendous. When people come and they know that they're going to be in for a ball game there. Why? Because they got a pass rush that's in their face with Jacobs, Traversy, Peoples, and Fleming. And you know who benefits from that? The secondary. And Friars, Coleman, Kellogg, Davis, and Pryor. These guys are the beneficiaries from the pass rush that Wally Buono promised he was going to have at the beginning of the season, Eric.
Now, you can...
Flea flicker.
Good pass back. Good pass back. I wanted to say that you've told us all about Calgary's weapons. Now, if that's the case, do the Bombers have any chance at all, and how?
I think they do. I really do, if they do a couple things. They've got to take some risks offensively, and they've got to challenge their players individually. I like the fact that Kerwin Bell is starting because nobody takes more risks with their body than Kerwin Bell. He is going to sit in that pocket, wait and wait and wait, and take the shot. But they still have to spread it out. They've got to go 3 receivers right, 3 receivers left, and then they got to challenge these guys individually. They have to challenge the offensive line to have its best personal game pass blocking. Challenge these receivers to not drop any footballs. The only way Winnipeg wins tonight is if they outscore the Calgary Stampeders. So you're saying, Chris, I mean, be realistic. Well, I go back to week 4. 52-52, Winnipeg, Calgary. They did it before. Eric, I think they can do it again.
Hey, Matty, spread it out, throw the football. It sounds like he's been talking to you or Kerwin Bell. I've been talking to Dave Ritchie. Let me tell you what Dave Ritchie says. You know, he really realizes the impact that Milt Stegall has on this football team. And when he's out, they're a different football team. So what does a football coach do? He goes back to his roots. And if you cut Dave Ritchie open, he believes in running the football. You look at the success he had in '94 in British Columbia with Sean Millington and Corey Philpott, and '95 when Corey Philpott scored 22 touchdowns, still a single-season record. Tonight, Corey Philpott is dressing for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And look for Dave Ritchie to get him the football. Can he give them what Milt Stegall does? I don't know, but I think that's what his plan is, James.
Going to be tough in Calgary, a sold-out McMahon Stadium. You want the proof of that? Well, here it is right now. Sign tells all. No tickets left in Calgary. Calgary fans among the best of the league, and they're here to see perhaps a record-breaking night for Alan Pitts. More on that when the kickoff is next.
Calgary quarterback Dave Dickinson, as cool as they come. Alan Pitts, the best there ever was after another milestone tonight.
With Milt Stegall out of the lineup, the supporting cast for the Bombers have to take their games to a new level. This is a frustrated team that has to find a way to finish.
40 years ago yesterday, the first ever football game at McMahon Stadium. Over the years, we've seen every kind of weather imaginable here.
Hey, if you don't like the weather, wait 20 minutes, it'll change.
Tonight, it's just about perfect, except for a swirling wind from the northeast.
Dave Ritchie truly believes that his football team should have at least 2 more wins to their credit. He has to be wondering when the football gods will look favorably upon his team.
Wally Buono, in his 11th season as head coach in Calgary, has led the Stamps to 7 first-place finishes since 1990 and never finished worse than second in the West. Game 2 between these old friends and old rivals. Wally won in week number 2, and he might have been a little lucky to get by Ritchie and the Blue Bombers that particular night.
Pushed to the limit in that game. Of course, that game went to overtime. Dave Ritchie had a chance to win it, and his field goal kicker, Troy Westwood, missed.
So that's the story to set things up. Westwood has to get hot one of these days. The Bombers have to find a way to play 60 minutes of football because they've had the lead on good teams throughout this 2000 season and only have 1 victory to show for it.
That game in week 2 versus Calgary, they had a 15-point lead in the second half, lost the lead, lost the game in overtime. It's a frustrated team that needs to find a way, like you said, John, to finish the game off.
Ready to kick things off at McMahon Stadium. The wind will favor the Bombers in the opening half. Albert Johnson III for Winnipeg on the return. He's got great speed and has taken one all the way back once before this year on a wild field goal. 47 yards there. Kerwin Bell is back to pilot the Bombers after watching last week's game in Toronto. Bell has to count on Robert Gordon and Albert Johnson III to be his key receivers, with Milt Stegall watching back in Winnipeg. And up front, another change. Rob Lazio at right guard for the injured Brett McNeil.
Lots of pressure, John, on that offensive line. Got to give Kerwin Bell time to throw the football. He's a little banged up, and he's a drop-back passer. That puts the pressure squarely on the Winnipeg O-line.
Bombers begin with great field position near the 47, and that's George Jones for a couple.
Defensively for the Calgary Stampeders, 6 sacks between Shante Peoples and Joe Fleming up front. Congratulations to Joe Fleming, the new daddy. Londa Johnson is in the middle, and in the secondary, Greg Prayers, 3 interceptions on the season. 2 of them have gone back for touchdowns.
Starting lineups brought to you by Midas. This is 2nd and 5, and Bell is on the money for Robert Gordon near the 35. And the spot will be important here, but I think he should have the first down. And yes, they are moving the chains.
Throughout the season, John, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have done a nice job in the first quarter. They've come out of the blocks fairly well. In fact, they've got first half leads against most teams and some good teams, Calgary, Montreal, and Edmonton, to name 3. It's finishing the games they've had problems with.
Conversely, the Calgary Stampeders have had their biggest disappointments against teams they should have handled easily. Bell over the middle, and Johnson has it close to a first down. He's at the 25. Exactly what the Bombers needed. Some kind of a hot start. Even if they don't hit the end zone here, they've taken the ball deep into Calgary territory.
This is one of the guys we've got to watch closely in this football game. It's Albert Johnson III, one of the most exciting players in the league this year. He just comes to the inside and catches that ball in traffic. Londa Johnson's coming, so what looked like an easy catch was a lot tougher.
2nd and 1, and there's another Winnipeg first down. George Jones again. Jones had a hot week to begin his CFL career, 153 yards in week 1.
What Dave Ritchie will do offensively in this game is try and get George Jones and Corey Philpott in the same backfield together, and they're going to line them up in different formations. Don't be surprised to see them wave to the outside. See if they can't pull the linebackers for Calgary out there with them.
Another Bomber first down, another completion, this time to Howell from Kerwin Bell. Marcus Howell, number 82.
Well, with Milt Stegall back in Winnipeg, the Marcus Howells of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have to pick their game up. And we talk about Albert Johnson III. He's an exciting player, but he has to be consistent for 60 minutes tonight. Milt Stegall versus Calgary in week 2, 171 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Wally Buono even mentioned in the press conference yesterday, boy, we're glad he's not here.
Well, and he also felt that they had contained him rather well.
That's right.
He said, you know, maybe that wasn't so bad, and that was a game that had overtime.
That's right.
Yeah. 2nd and 5, Winnipeg. Shotgun, Kerwin Bell. End zone toss, intercepted. Prayers has his 4th interception of the season, and he's hammered out of bounds at the 21-yard line. It looked to me like the receiver slipped or fell.
Well, 9 times out of 10, if the ball is overthrown, this is going to be the result. Greg Prayers is right in the middle of your screen, just going to float to the football, but the ball is overthrown by Kerwin Bell. And when you overthrow a pass, it's going to the wrong color. Here comes Albert Johnson. I'm not sure if he slipped. He went up for the football, high throw over his head.
He hesitated, my fault.
Yeah, and right into Greg Prayers' hands.
He did fall down, but that was because he jumped in the air and was off balance. First turnover goes to Greg Prayers. Super season already. Calgary from the 20. Peoples had a shot at it. It was intended for Alan Pitts. No quarterback can match Dave Dickinson in touchdown tosses. He has 20 in 6 games. Prime receiver so far, Travis Moore with 8. Alan Pitts has 4. And up front, a nasty group that averages 6 feet 5 inches and 306 pounds.
Whoa. Whoa. 6'5", 306 up front.
They've had a good start to the season. Much better than last year, the Stampeder offensive line. 2nd and 10, there was early movement. And here comes the flag. Dickinson is down.
sort out the penalty. We get back to that offensive line, John. You're right. That's been one of the areas that has really improved for the Calgary Stampeders. They've given up 15 sacks this year.
Offside. Winnipeg number 4. Second down repeat.
But only 7 has been the O-line's fault. Winnipeg on defense. Benny Good's back in the lineup. Alfred Payton has 3 sacks on the season. Deroney Harris has an interception for a big return and a touchdown, 66 yards versus BC. In the secondary, Harold Nash will replace Rashid Gale at the halfback position.
Penalty against the Bombers sets the Stampeders up 2nd and 5. Dickinson shotgun over the middle on the money.
I'll get back to that penalty. Those are the penalties that bug Dave Ritchie so much, because here they have Dave Dickinson sacked for a loss in a punting situation from his own end. They go offside, give Dickinson another down, and now
he's got a first down.
He's got a first down, and it's been that kind of season, and you can see the frustration already in the Bomber head coach.
Vince Danielson has had a slow start to the season, but he had a good week last week, and it was an injury problem in the early going that slowed him down. But he's had his first catch of the night here. Anderson has his first carry. Out across the 40 and near the 44. What to watch for tonight and how you win this thing.
Well, first of all, for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, they definitely have to find a way to finish games. 3 games they've lost by 8 points and had leads in all 3. Calgary has to avoid the turnovers. I think they're a better team at this point. If they keep the ball, they'll be all right and win the first quarter. It's important for both teams. A good start. Calgary has that big interception.
More importantly for Winnipeg, and Alan Pitts makes the catch right on the line.
Well, you know, the first quarter is so important for both teams. For Winnipeg, they need to get out to a lead when they're on the road against a very tough team. And for Calgary, they get the fans in it. If they get the first touchdown and they get the fans going, and this is a sellout crowd at McMahon, and that's that extra player on the field for you.
Alan Pitts is marching after another CFL milestone tonight and has an opportunity to pass Don Narcisse with 8 more catches. That would be for total receptions in his CFL career. Stampeders first down. Dickinson one way, then the other. One is home. Good job. To fire it into the turf near the 50-yard line.
Dave Dickinson has nowhere to throw the football, John. I mean, he's looking at the receiving core and just watch the coverage downfield. Here's the 3 targets he wants to go to for the Calgary Stampeders. Vince Danielson is in there, Alan Pitts, but coverage all across the board. Just right in the hip pocket of every single receiver. Rio Wells was down there on Vince Danielson, and Dickinson just has to throw it away, and wisely does so.
So that flips it to 2nd and 10. Stampeders have marched from near the 20 out to the 48. No score thus far.
Here they go.
The heat is on, and they meet at the quarterback. The Bombers came with Payton and Tom Europe.
Yeah, Tom Europe, the safety, came off the corner, and he disguised it well. I don't know that Dave Dickinson saw him coming. Look at the middle of the field. What's missing there? No free safety. He's over here. Dave Dickinson doesn't notice him, and when he comes off the edge, he gets free, outruns Kelvin Anderson, and provides the pressure. Doesn't get the sack, but he's the guy who got there first, and he flushes him into the middle.
So the Bombers defense comes up with a solid play, and that brings in Tony Martino standing at his 25. A bouncing ball. Nash has it, kicks it into the end zone. The Bombers fall on it. Touchdown, Winnipeg.
The Winnipeg Blue Bombers have been outstanding in special teams. Last week versus Toronto, the special teams were really the only reason they were in that football game and blocked 2 punts. This is their 3rd block punt in 2 games. Results in a touchdown and a good start for the Bombers. They needed a big play in the first quarter. We said that. They just got it from Harold Nash.
Harold Nash got through and then followed it into the end zone for the first 6 points of the evening.
Didn't look like Tony Martino took more time than he should have, but good pressure in the middle by Brendan and Baggio, and he gets the block. Harold Nash is the guy who picks it up.
And Troy Westwood makes it 7-0 Blue Bombers. So the first offensive drive doesn't net a touchdown, but the Bombers grab one on special teams.
CFL football on TSN is brought to you by Molson Canadian. I am Canadian.
Dan Disley has a choice to make. Watch the pressure come right here and isolate number 8 in your screen. He has to make a choice between two players. One is Brendan Ianbaggio. He's the inside guy. Dan Disley made the wrong decision, went to the outside guy. He was further away. Ianbaggio makes the block, and it's 7-0 Winnipeg.
And the kickoff after the touchdown is hammered right through the end zone by Troy Westwood. So he's feeling his oats tonight.
Well, let's take one more look at that block. Tony Martino really was right in his rhythm. Didn't take too long. It was just a decision up front, and the block comes in. There goes Harold Nash kicking it into the end zone, and you're allowed to do that as long as you don't kick it out of bounds. Maybe the football gods are smiling on Dave Ritchie tonight.
Well, you would think the Blue Bombers are due for a break or two. This team offensively is vastly improved over last year. The numbers prove that. Kelvin Anderson wrapped up by 4 Blue Bombers up front.
Antonio Armstrong was also in on that blocked field goal. Special teams have been a big plus for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and so far in this first quarter, defensively, they've done a pretty nice job. They have the Stampeders, who have been an offensive juggernaut, on their heels a little bit right now.
Stampeders averaging 37.5 points a game. The only unbeaten team in the CFL with 1 tie, though. Flags are down. Dickinson far side. Danielson turns the corner. Thinks he was still in bounds, and he's out to the Winnipeg 50. And they may give him the extra yardage if, in fact, the penalty is not against Calgary.
It looked like Winnipeg jumped offside. I don't know if they were drawn or not, but either way, big play for Vince Danielson, who gets a little one-on-one coverage.
Offside. Winnipeg 97.
Yeah, with one-on-one coverage with Dave Donaldson. And it's one of the toughest coverages to take because he goes down and runs the out pattern. And look where Donaldson is lined up. He's lined up right there. He's going to get across his face. Watch how he crosses his face and then gets the out pattern. Now Donaldson is in a chase. The ball is right on the spot. Big first down for Vince Danielson.
And Danielson stayed in bounds on the far side, although it looked close from all the way across the field. 35-yard gain. 1st and 10, Stampeders at the Winnipeg 50. Calvin Anderson hammered to the turf in the Stampeder backfield. Harris was there for one, number 97.
You know, one of the frustrating things for Dave Ritchie this year, we talked about losing 3 important games by just a total of 8 points, but he says, you know, what's been so frustrating about it more than anything is that his team has played so hard. He said, I just can't ask them to play any harder than they play. Just sometimes, and usually near the end of the games, they've got to play smarter.
A loss of 8 on the previous play. 2nd and a bunch for Dave Dickinson now. Danielson again. Ball came loose. Bombers have it if they ruled it a catch. And the Bombers, that is a live ball.
Sure is. I haven't heard a whistle yet.
No whistle there at all.
Vince Danielson wants the ball to be down. He thought he was down, and he's arguing his case right now. What the Bombers did is they brought the safety, Tom Mura. They also brought Harold Nash, a full-out blitz. Danielson catches the checkoff pass from Dave Dickinson. And we'll take another look and see if that ball is actually a fumble. They're talking about it right now, and it sure was. It's a fumble.
They rule it a catch and a fumble recovered by the Bombers. And a couple of early breaks for Winnipeg. 1st and 10 Bombers at the Stampeder 36 when we return. A couple of Blue Bomber heroes in the previous play. Dave Donaldson is one.
Well, here's what happens. Tom Europe off the edge. Harold Nash off the edge. That's where Dickinson has to throw. Okay, run it. Now, see, here he goes. He makes the read. No safety. Go over the middle. 2 steps. Vince Danielson has that ball. It's on the turf. Brandon Hamilton picks it up.
And that's where we are, 1st and 10, Winnipeg. Stampeder 36, Winnipeg, 3 receivers to the near side. And that play didn't fool one Calgary Stampeder up front. Absolutely nowhere to go.
Well, one quick look, John, at the fumble one more time. Was Vince Danielson on the ground? He catches the ball there. Now he has possession. The ball's out now. And then he hits the ground. You see that ball bounce to his right. It was out on his way down. A good call by the officials, and it's Winnipeg's football.
Yeah, it was the right call. No question about that. Danielson took a couple of steps with the ball, and it squirted out before he hit the turf. 2nd and 12. Near side. And nowhere to run after making the catch for Marcus Howell.
You know, the Calgary defense just responded. They just stepped on the field, and they shut the door on Winnipeg, hold them to a field goal attempt. Because on a sudden change, they call it, when you get that big turnover and the Brandon Hamilton fumble, you don't want to give up 7.
The reception by Howell does give the Bombers a little better opportunity. He picked up about 8 yards, needed 12. So here's Westwood, first crack at it tonight. And he's dead center with that one. Westwood nails his first field goal of the night. The Bombers have a 10-0 lead, and we're at McMahon in Calgary. Bomber coach Dave Ritchie will not be breathing easy for a long time. He's had the lead before. On the sidelines, here's Sherry Hargrave.
McMahon Stadium celebrated its 40th birthday yesterday. It was exactly 4 decades ago yesterday. The Stampeders played their very first game here. Ironically, it was the Winnipeg Blue Bombers that were in town. Stamps lost that game 38-23. However, it's not as easy to win at McMahon these days. In the 90s, the Stamps were an amazing 77-13. And so far, they've been a perfect 3-0 this year.
Dickinson, nice fake, and he has Bollinger out near the 40. Thanks, Cher. At about the 41, this building, built in 1960, Glenn, was constructed in 100 days. They built the whole place in 100 days.
Well, you know, and I was talking to some of the media guys yesterday at the press conference, and they were saying they have talked to some of the people who were involved 40 years ago, and they said what happened was a lot of the media guys were sitting around having a few beverages, and they said, you know what, we need a new stadium. Let's go find some rich guys to help us out.
The 2 guys they found, Calgary oil man Frank and George McMahon, who donated $300,000. That was 40 years ago they opened the joint. Travis Moore, first catch of the game, and he may have the first down. We'll see where they spot the ball. His forward progress might have been across the 45.
Well, this is a team that has Alan Pitts, Vince Danielson in the lineup, and Travis Moore has been the best receiver in that core. 8 touchdowns on the season. He is off to an amazing start, and it is quite a story, the Travis Moore story.
At least 1 touchdown a game for Travis Moore so far in 2000. And the CFL record for consecutive games with a touchdown is 10, held by a former Stampeder, Terry Evanson. On first down, Dickinson back in a hurry, looking for Pitts, and the coverage was tight. Pitts wants a flag, and there's one back in the Stampeder backfield.
Well, Pitts isn't going to get the pass interference call, but the Calgary Stampeders, I believe, will get a late hit
Major
call.
Major foul, roughing the passer, Winnipeg 97, first down.
Deroni Harris hit Dave Dickinson after he threw the football. Here's a chance to get a look at it now. Did he take that extra step and a half? Dickinson has time initially, but then steps up. Let's go now. One went that. Well, that's close. That was very close. Remember, that's slow motion. That's close.
Stamps get the first down. And are now at the Bomber 47.
I don't know if Calgary may have got away with one there.
Dickinson over the middle. There's number 2 for Alan Pitts tonight. Down to the 32-yard line as he closes in on the Don Narcisse record set a couple of years ago.
I think he got poked in the eye. He'll try and shake that off. I just want to go back to that Deroni Harris one more time because it looked awfully close to me. We saw it in slow motion. Take a look at it in regular speed, and you be the judge. Is this a late hit or not on the quarterback? Throw, hit. I don't know. I don't think so.
Now at the Bomber 32. Stampeders 1st and 10. 2:32 to go. in the opening quarter at McMahon. Dickinson. No heat. Bo Richter. This guy can fly. Out at the floor. Mark Bo Richter. An early candidate for Rookie of the Year. I don't think there's any doubt about it.
Oh, no question. Jerron Bolden got caught up in the middle. In the mix, I like to call it. The mix is right in the middle. Watch Jerron Bolden, number 21, come from the left of your screen. He's trying to cover. Watch him get all caught up in there. Sort of a pick play right over here. He's supposed to be covering Mark Bo Richter and can't get anywhere near him. Bo Richter uses his speed to get to the end zone. You never want to get caught in the mix.
No. Bo Richter's 27th catch. He has 500 yards and a couple of touchdowns through 6 games. Well, into his 7th.
Stamps knocking on the door on a questionable call. The late hit on Deroney Harris.
They are first and goal from the 3. Ford.
No.
Rejected.
No way.
Pretty good fake by Dickinson as he went around the end on a little bit of an option after handing off to Dwayne Ford. Interesting numbers for Dwayne Ford. 5 carries for 6 yards and 2 touchdowns coming into this.
Yeah, when you get down there, you give it to the big guy. No question, but Rylan Wickman said, not on this down. You might have to go reload again. Now on 2nd and 2, it's a long 2. Stamps may have to throw the football, try and get in the end zone. And watch the blitz come now. When you're backed up here, you might as well send everybody.
From the 2, they have 2 cracks at it from here.
Ah, look at that. They were all up in the line of scrimmage, John. Every one of them were up there. Winnipeg Blue Bombers were coming, and Dave Dickinson didn't like the call he had. So he has to call the timeout and go and get it straightened out.
It's a highly entertaining evening for ladies only, sponsored by Andre.
Now, they might have been short a man.
Well, somehow the play or the personnel did not match. Watch Travis Moore. He's looking and he's saying, no, wait a minute.
Yeah, Aubrey Cummings was a late arrival.
He's saying, wait a minute, we don't have the right personnel. They're coming with a full-out blitz, and we're missing a guy. So Travis Moore and Dickinson both get in there and call it.
Second down. Goal to go from the 2 for the Stampeders. They trail the Bombers. 10-0 at McMahon Stadium. 12 Calgary guys out there this time. Dickinson to the end zone. Deep, and he missed Alan Pitts in the corner. So decision time.
Well, here's the thing for Calgary. I mean, they're going to kick a field goal, I think. I mean, they're sending in the big guys, so I don't see the kicker on the field. Mark McLaughlin has not come out there yet.
Yeah, he's gone. He's out there now. Snuck in behind one of those big guys. I see him now.
That's why. He was hiding behind Joe Fleming.
Yeah.
But he's out there, yeah, and that's the wise decision. I mean, 2 yards, a long way to go. It seems like 2 miles when you're down there in front of a hot defense right now. So kick the field goal, get the points. But the Calgary Stampeders, not only did they not score, but they burned a timeout because of a personnel problem.
Mark McLaughlin good on 82% of his field goals so far this year. Chip shot for him. Spotted at the 9. And hammered through for Calgary's first 3 of the night. Lots of great golf coming up on TSN in the week ahead. Well, the Blue Bombers got a tough break on a penalty, but then in the end, the defense held the Stampeders to 3, which is somewhat fortunate, I would say, for Winnipeg at that stage.
Yeah, I still think the Deroney Harris hit on Dave Dickinson was not a late hit. And they got the penalty there that kept the drive alive, but they didn't break. A little bending, but no breaking.
I suppose when you look at calls in the CFL that you don't like, the ones that you have to bend a little bit on is when it comes to protecting the quarterback. And I mean,
no question
when it's close, you know, you can't be too upset at the officials for that, I don't think.
They will always err to protect the quarterback.
Yeah. Albert Johnson III had a super return the first time he had his hands on the ball. This is another one, streaking down the sidelines, and apparently he was out. He is awfully quick, and we heard a whistle back near the 42-yard line, but he had daylight to run to.
Stepped out of bounds. Stepped out of bounds. As a receiver, 18 catches for 300 yards, a couple touchdowns, but he had the big missed field goal return against the Edmonton Eskimos. It went 120 yards, and he leads the league in all-purpose yards. He's got almost a 400-yard lead over Archie Amerson for all-purpose yards this year.
Yeah, and he set the single game record for all-purpose yards against the Eskimos.
474 all-purpose yards in a game. This guy can flat out fly. 1st and 10 at the 45. Corey Philpott, not a regular in the Bomber lineup from week to week, but he gets a chance to play tonight.
Some good years with the BC Lions where he accumulated a lot of the numbers that you see in front of you, and that's his career numbers totaled. His biggest years were with BC, and in Winnipeg he's been on and off the practice roster, just hasn't seen the football a whole lot.
Half of his career TDs came when he set the single-season record with 22. Kerwin Bell, near side, it's Philpott. Grabbed by 2 Stampeders on 2nd and 8. And that'll be the end of the quarter as Philpott comes up about a yard shy. Good start for the Blue Bombers, and they still have the football as quarter number 1 ends on CFL Live.
The CFL Live on TSN at the quarter. Brought to you by New Arctic Ice, the invigorating new fragrance of the Gillette series. It's beyond refreshing.
Back in the studio, James Duthie, Eric Tillman, Matt Dunnigan, and Chris Schultz. And you know, if you log on to www.tsn.ca/CFL, you'll find that all 4 of us picked Calgary in this game during the first quarter, desperately trying to log on to change that quietly, but no success, which may have been a little bit premature, but definitely a solid start for Winnipeg.
Yeah, Calgary's weathering the storm, but I tell you, Albert Johnson III set the tone for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. A 47-yard return from the top. He just sets the tone for the rest of this team, and they feed off of it. After this point, they get a turnover, they block a punt, in for a touchdown, they recover a fumble, put 3 on the board. Albert Johnson III has a knack of setting this team on fire, and he did it again tonight.
And you know what I like, Matt, is the fact that this is the first time the Calgary Stampeders have not dominated early in the game. You know, Winnipeg's mindset is probably confident yet more relaxed because they have 1 win, 4 losses, 1 tie. So there comes a point where you're almost like, it's not that you don't care, it's just that you've already been through all the adversity. What else can possibly happen to you? And you're more effective. Kerwin Bell's making quick, fast decisions, and defensively they're aggressive. They have had their best first quarter in Calgary that I've seen in a long time, Eric.
Yeah, and from a defensive standpoint, the interesting thing is that Dave Ritchie is holding true to his colors. They are playing pressure defense, and that's a little bit of a feast or famine concept when you do that. You see a lot of zero coverage. By that, no safety in the middle, and when you have no help in the middle, your halfbacks have to do a good job of those big slot backs. If you don't, they'll give you a good move. They've got the middle of the field, and you've seen Calgary, although they're behind, have a lot of success on those crossing routes.
Yeah, Chris mentioned those got to be a small victory anyway for Winnipeg in the sense that most of the games at McMahon Stadium so far this season, they've been over after 1 quarter play. This one, anything but. Winnipeg in the lead after 1 as we send you back to McMahon for second quarter action.
All right, guys, the Bombers used big plays in the opening quarter to get their 10-3 advantage. The numbers look like this.
2 turnovers led to 10 points for Winnipeg. This is unreal. -1 yard rushing for the Calgary Stampeders. They have 10 minutes of time of possession, but those turnovers have cost them points.
Cameron is in. Punting for Winnipeg on 3rd down. A flag is down. And Coleman waits. At the 21, Marvin Coleman. Oh, nailed by the first Bomber tackler down. That was Dave Donaldson, and right on Donaldson's heels was Steve Glenn, another special teams player.
Well, there's only 3 yards for a first down for Winnipeg, so it'll be interesting to see what this flag is. It was on the line of scrimmage or thereabouts. See if they'll have to punt it again, or they get the first down. Go one way or the other, so Joe Fleming and the rest of the Stamps are indicating that it's against the Bombers.
Well, neither coach is happy about this turn of events.
Illegal procedure. Winnipeg has declined. It's first down, Calgary.
37-yard kick for Don Cameron.
Dave Ritchie began his CFL coaching career in Montreal in 1983. And that was the same year that Wally Buono became a CFL coach. They were both assistants with the Montreal Alouettes back then. And for a while in 1983, Dave Ritchie lived in Wally Buono's basement.
They're good friends.
Yeah, they were cellmates, so-called. Or cellar dwellers. That's when he was a cellar dweller.
He's making up the goddamn...
Well, he's not happy right now.
And all those years in the CFL haven't quieted Dave down completely yet. Here's Alan Pitts. Third catch of the night. He's bulldogged to the ground by Harold Nash.
Good tackle by Harold Nash to hold pitch to just a couple of yards. But the one thing that the Bombers are doing, especially on second down, is they're getting Tom Europe involved. Now, if you continue to do that, you're rolling the dice a little bit defensively, because what you're doing is you're taking your safety, the guy responsible for the middle of the field, you're taking him out of there. You're moving him up. You move him up, and Dave Dickinson sees that enough. He's going to send Alan Pitts or Vince Danielson right down Main Street. So watch for that as this game progresses.
On second down, Dickinson shotgun. Here comes the Heaney, avoids it. They're in a man in behind the coverage. It was Travis Moore. He was about a stride, maybe two.
There it is.
Behind the ball.
There it is. Again, Tom Europe comes out of the middle. Tom Europe gets up on the line of scrimmage. Watch this now. Here comes Travis Moore. He was the guy designated to go to the middle. You're rolling the dice. Look, no safety in that area. Travis Moore says, that's the area I'm going to try and get to. As soon as I get there, just throw the ball up. There's no one left. Just a little overthrown. They'll go back to it, though.
Martino with Albert Johnson III waiting. One was blocked already. Martino rushes this one a bit. Here comes fast Albert. Look at this. What an amazing change of direction for Albert Johnson III. 18 on the return. The Bombers have field position once more and a 7-point lead. It's full at McMahon Stadium once more for the Stampeders and the Blue Bombers. First down, Winnipeg. Kerwin Bell near side. And Johnson was the target, and there should have been a flag there.
Should have been and is. There's a flag on the field. It's on Anthony Pryor, and it was Albert Johnson III. Not a bad idea. The guy's hot. He's got some return yards in his pocket. Why not send him deep and see if Anthony Pryor, who's new on the corner, is a rookie this year in the CFL for the Calgary Stampeders, just playing in his 7th game. And he basically tackles Albert Johnson III down the sideline. The argument from the coaching staff will be whether or not that ball was catchable, but just throw it up there and watch the mugging that goes on.
Oh, there's a mugging there. I don't think there's much doubt about that.
Didn't look back to the football and just kind of tackled him.
Bomber net gain is 25. Bell had to get it away, and now flags come down in the Bomber backfield.
Well, Bell threw it away, but
he lost his hat.
You know what? He threw it away, but I don't know if it crossed the line of scrimmage. And this is the rule in the Canadian Football League. You can throw it away to an empty area as long as it crosses the line of scrimmage.
Holding. Winnipeg 66. First down repeated.
That's Rob Lazio, who's new to the Bomber offensive line.
So I know that Kerwin Bell threw it away. He didn't get nailed for it because it didn't cross the line, because the refs were obviously watching Rob Lazio on the play, not Kerwin Bell. Kerwin Bell took a pretty good hit after throwing that, too. In fact, he lost his helmet.
Yeah, he did. But the Bomber offensive line was required to hang in there for more than 2 steamboats. I would think it was a long time before Bell had any opportunity to unload. First and 20. Bell is out of field goal range, looking for Gordon, and too far that time.
Well, again, good range from Greg Freyers, the safety. You mentioned it earlier, John. He's having a great year. He's got 4 interceptions, 1 tonight. He got over there in a hurry, a long way, a lot of ground that he covered, and he went a long way to get to Robert Gordon. So the ball had to be thrown way high and outside, and Kerwin Bell was just hoping that Gordon could run under it. Freyers made it only one spot that he could throw to.
This will be 2nd and 20. Bell goes a long way far side. No catch. Couldn't stay in bounds. And Howell says both feet were in, let alone one.
Well, it really doesn't change a whole lot other than it makes it a longer field goal for Troy Westwood. Because whether or not Howell's in or not, he's still well short of the first down. They're kicking a field goal anyway, but it's a difference between maybe a 37-yard field goal attempt or a 45-yard field goal attempt.
And this time it's into a breeze.
Talk about a guy with some pressure on him. Troy Westwood has some pressure on him.
1 for 1 tonight. This one will be spotted at the 45. Definitely within Westwood's range. But he has wind to contend with. No problem at all. Westwood is 2 for 2. And smiling a little bit. Hopeful the slump might be over. It's the Bombers by 10. And this is CFL Live from McMahon in Calgary. McMahon is full tonight. There's even a few Bomber fans there in the background. See the big W's tomorrow. We're at BC Place Stadium. Argos and the Lions. Crucial game for two teams that have struggled. We'll have it for you 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific.
Two desperate teams in that game.
Marv Coleman has a little difficulty corralling it, and then there's not much running room up the far sideline. Bomber special teams have been solid tonight. And we've been watching Alan Pitts for the better part of the last 10 years. His outstanding numbers. He is closing in on the last passing record that he doesn't own in Canadian football, held by your old teammate Don Narcisse.
And Relgard also in the top 3. Don Narcisse passed him. Pitts should get it tonight. Let's hope he gets it tonight.
Well, he needed 8 for the tie.
He's got 3 now, right? That's 5 left to go for the tie.
You've got it. That Simon Fraser math works for you every time.
Every time.
Yeah.
Kelvin Anderson.
Oh, what a
Only
play.
a couple.
John, what a play by Dave Donaldson. He shot in there, took a gamble, beat 2 blocks to get to Calvin Anderson and cut him down. He just comes off the edge and does a real nice job.
When they handed out the depth charts yesterday, Dave Donaldson was listed as a starting wide receiver.
Watch him shoot it right there. Shoots the gap. Anderson can't get him, and bam, he's in the backfield.
He is versatile. He's playing defense tonight.
You know what his nickname is now? They call him Double D.
Double D?
Dave Donaldson and double time. He usually plays both ways.
Double duty. Here you go, 2nd and 9, and flags are down.
Well, you know what? That play was called down, but Travis Moore was...
Calgary number 50. 2nd down repeated.
Travis Moore was on his way to the hole that time, or into the middle of the field, anticipating that maybe Tom Europe was going to sneak up there again. On the play, he didn't. He dropped back. So maybe just as well for Calgary that they didn't, that play didn't continue.
If it's your number, report to the Stampeder Administration Office before the end of tonight's game.
2nd and 14. Bombers have had the much better field position. Another flag is down as Dickinson escapes. Close to the first down as he's dropped near the 33.
The flag is in the holding area. Dave Dickinson was held short of the first down by about 3 yards. So it would definitely be a punting situation if the penalty is against the Calgary Stampeders. Winnipeg would decline it and have Calgary punt them the football.
Offside, Calgary 18, penalties decline, 3rd down.
There you go. It's Alan Pitts probably trying to get his waggle, they call it. The waggle is not something that, you know, here comes the waggle. The waggle is this, up to the line of scrimmage. Because you're allowed to be moving forward as the ball is snapped. But that was a little bit too quickly moving forward.
Well, too much waggle, obviously.
A little too much wiggle in his waggle up at the line. And trying to block Rio Wells on the play and was there a little too early.
Martino back at his 20. And we're ready for Albert Johnson III, who has been superb tonight, returning for Winnipeg.
Yeah, you get the feeling that he may just take it to the house in any given play.
Good kick by Tony Martino, chasing Albert back near the 20. One move there.
Oh!
A move there. Another move.
Oh!
Lots of moves. About 7 yards is all he got.
What a hit. Brandon Hamilton.
Lost a little bit.
Oh, sorry, John. Brandon Hamilton. I'm just a little excited up here. That's a pretty big hit. Brandon Hamilton on Eddie Davis. Woo!
Is this the hit of the night?
Here he comes. Watch out, Eddie Davis. Bam! John, I've got an idea when it comes to Tiger Woods. Whenever he's playing, they should make the hole smaller for him. It just doesn't seem fair.
Well, Tiger plays with VJ, and Jack Nicklaus tomorrow. We'll be watching Mike Weir as well. And Calgary resident Stephen Ames. 6 hours of coverage beginning tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. PGA Championship. We've got all 4 rounds on TSN. We've got a great ball game going here tonight at McMahon. Bombers on top of the Stamps by 10 as Corey Philpott on second down. Philpott across the 35 to about the 36-yard line. And he'll have enough for the first down on 2nd and 5.
He's a little banged up and slow to get up off that turf. He hit that hit full speed. Hit the line of scrimmage going downhill and took a pretty good pop. He's still down on the field. It doesn't look real serious from up here, but hard to speculate. Just a little pitch out to the right. He's going to just head this way, get the pitch out from Kerwin Bell. It's a little play action. Now watch, he's going downhill full speed, takes a hit from Greg Frères. Right there, and then a couple more, Alondra Johnson and Marvin Coleman. That hurts. At times, Alondra Johnson, it hurts.
I think it was the Calgary Stampeder who fell on top of his helmet that caused his problem down there.
It might have a stinger. He's trying to, they're just checking to make sure he has feeling in his hands. Stinger is when you just can't feel one side of your body after you get hit in the shoulder area.
Bring your game day ticket stub to
this Blue Bomber team for 2000 has got a lot of promise. They've sold 20,000 tickets for the game against Hamilton at Winnipeg Stadium. And that'll be next Friday night. Bombers have been on the road 2 straight weeks, so it would be terrific for Winnipeg fans to see a Winnipeg win here tonight and then go out and watch Hamilton at Winnipeg Stadium next Friday.
Well, good news for them. Corey Philpott looks like he's okay. And, you know, for the fans in Winnipeg, there's a lot of stars on offense that they are pretty excited about over there. Milt Stiegel should be back. He's very close. You know, Albert Johnson III is really showing some signs of brilliance this season.
George Jones, and only a couple of yards for the Bomber running back. Winnipeg leading Calgary by 10 points. And the Bombers have played well in the opening half thus far. But they played well through 3 quarters at times this year. So I'm sure Winnipeg fans are on the edge of their seats wondering if they can hang on and win a game against one of the CFL's top teams.
Well, he's on the edge of his seat and will be for the full 60 minutes.
2nd and 9, and Bell has to put it up. And the intended receiver, and a great catch by Robert Gordon.
Oh, what a catch.
It really was a beauty. Robert Gordon out near the 50.
And another one of the talented, skilled players that the Bombers have on offense. Watch Robert Gordon. He goes out but has to come back inside to get the football. And he really has to turn his body around. Watch him go out there and then stop, come back, and come up with a huge catch.
Gain is 13. Nice play action fake by Bell, far side. Gordon again.
You know, Robert Gordon is an actor. In the offseason, was in Any Given Sunday by Oliver Stone, and he's in what's that called, the union, the Actors Union, the Screen
Actors Guild, yeah.
Screen Actors Guild. So that means like he gets residual checks, and I think they're on strike right now, aren't they?
In the States, Screen Actors Guild is currently in a work stoppage of some kind. Flags are down, and so is Kerwin Bell.
I think there's going to be some more holding in there. Two times now when Kerwin Bell had to throw the ball away, he's had holding calls.
Winnipeg 65. It'll be first down repeated.
It was Mo Elowanibi, so that's why I called him Kerwin Mo. Here he is right there. Mo Elowanibi on the outside playing tackle. Has really come back from a tough year last year, and inside move by Shante Peoples left Mo Elowanibi with one choice: tackle him or get his quarterback killed. He made the right choice.
It was Larry Curley at home. That's what it really was. 1st and 20 facing Kerwin and the Bombers now. Powell made the catch, and he's out across the 50. Almost half the distance he needed back.
Hey, not a bad play on first down. Try and get some of the penalty back, which they do. Pretty much get all of it back. Throw the little hitch pass. You know that Calgary's going to be playing off with 1st and 25 or whatever it was. And down he goes. But he makes one guy miss. He gets the first down on his own. And if not, you got 2nd and 11.
And that's what we're looking at. Bombers, Stampeder 46. Bell is on the money for Simon. Leroy Simon surrounded by Stampeders and stopped way short of a first down.
Well, you know, I'm sure Kerwin Bell will go to the sideline. Much like Calgary's offense and Dave Dickinson, Bell is seeing the safety Greg Frères move around, and that time he came up. But I don't think the play was called for Bell to take advantage of it. So Leroy Simon stayed with his little out, and Calgary holds him to a punting situation. Bell will now go to the sideline, and he'll say, listen, if Greg Frères, see, that's what he's saying right now, Greg Frères ever comes out of that middle like that, you go right where he left.
99, Brent, 99.
That's what they're talking about right now on the sideline.
Bob Cameron near his own 50. Marv Coleman back at his 10. Cameron hammers one into the wind, and this one sails to the goal line. Coleman back into the end zone and will give up a single point. So Cameron sails a long 49-yard single, and the Bombers have a 14-3 lead. And it's still not enough to make Dave Ritchie feel comfortable.
Well, this is the most potent offense in the CFL right now, the Calgary Stampeders, team that was in the Grey Cup last year as the Western representative and has done nothing but improve on offense. Last 4 games, Dave Dickinson has not thrown an interception. Look at the numbers.
He's tossed a couple of touchdowns along the way.
Oh,
20 in
goodness.
total.
15 touchdowns in 4 games. So yeah, Dave Ritchie's a little antsy. There's not a lead big enough against this Calgary Stampeder.
No, there's not. And when you look at the Stampeder receiving corps, you can't take anyone out there lightly. Here's the long toss. Travis Moore laid out for it and couldn't bring it home. So Dickinson has missed Moore on a couple of long ones already tonight.
Well, they're close. They've been very close. They're making the right reads. They're throwing it to the right person. They've just been a few inches away from making some big plays. And the veterans on this team will make those plays for their offensive coordinator, George Cortez, before it's over. I guarantee you that.
Cortez sends all the plays in for Dickinson. Near side. Vince Danielson has been busy tonight. He should have the first down. It's spotted right on the 45.
John, football is the most physical game, the most violent game in the world, and this game tonight has been pretty physical. Vince Danielson catches a little out to the outside and takes another big hit from Brandon Hamilton afterwards. I mean, this is just a little out, turn up the field, watch the hit, pow, that snaps his head back. It is the most violent game in the world, and they're showing it tonight.
63 yards for Danielson on 4 receptions.
Remember, Brandon Hamilton was the guy who hit Eddie Davis on that punt return.
Stampeders set up at the 45. Shotgun. Nice play action fake, and there's the toss. So a catch by Alan Pitts. What a beauty for Alan Pitts.
You have got to be kidding me.
His 4th of the night. And you get the feeling that record may fall. He needs 4 more to tie Don Narcisse.
The man is a human highlight reel. His highlight reel is a feature-length movie. Look at this. Add that one to it. Little play over the middle, but he only needed one hand to bring it in.
Good for 18 yards. Stamps just outside the Bomber 45. Here's Dickinson going to work. And there's another outstanding catch. Aubrey Cummings.
Oh, there you go. See, now they're starting to make the big plays.
Yeah, can these guys catch the football or what?
Yeah, they were inches away. Inches away. We were talking about that, but all of a sudden, Alan Pitts, the veteran, the superstar on this team, ignites the offense with a one-hander, and now look at this. Aubrey Cummings says, hey, I can make one like that too, comes across, dives, and makes a nice catch of his own.
Aubrey Cummings, a couple of touchdowns already this season. Shotgun, Dickinson, end zone toss. This is Bo Richter. No catch, no flag. 2nd and 10.
You know, Bo Richter wants a penalty. He wants the screening call. He wasn't sure that Brandon Hamilton looked back. Brandon Hamilton taunting the sold-out crowd here at McMahon Stadium. But I think Brandon Hamilton did a nice job of not interfering with him, just slapping his hands away. See, right at the last second, Hamilton just slaps his hands away. And then puts the hands up in the air saying, no, I didn't touch him. Didn't touch him.
Wasn't me. serve. 2nd and 10, Stampeders at the Winnipeg 30.
Hamilton's putting together a pretty good game on that corner right now.
Be huge for the Bomber defense if they can hold Calgary here, but it won't be easy. Dickinson, end zone again, Travis Moore. Another one. 7 games in a row for Travis Moore with at least 1 touchdown. Go blue, go blue.
Giddy up, baby. What a story the Travis Moore story is. Grew up South Central LA in a very tough neighborhood. Lost his older brother at an early age, Gerald. His younger brother, Calvin, broke his neck in an NFL football game. Has come back from that, and through it all, he's had to stay strong, stay focused, and is putting together a heck of a season.
He is one terrific athlete and the Stampeders' leading receiver in 2000. 8 touchdown receptions coming into the game. This is number 9.
He turns Rio Wells all around. Rio Wells, number 19, tries to make up some ground in a hurry, but it's too little too late, and Travis Moore backs into the end zone.
Closing in on Mike Pringle, who has had an outstanding start.
Travis Moore, John, is on pace for over 1,500 yards and 24 touchdown catches.
CFL record 22, set by Corey Philpott. So Pringle and Moore are both taking aim at that. One of many CFL records that are sort of hanging in the balance this year when you look at
About Dave Dickinson,
Damon Allen and all the players.
Dave Dickinson in touchdown passes is on pace to break records. So
yeah, that's number 21 for Dave Dickinson. And Flutie has the record there. So the Bombers gave up the touchdown to Travis Moore. And ready to accept the kickoff. Albert Johnson III. He's been flying tonight. Not bad on the return. He's got Winnipeg out near the 40.
Hey, he doesn't get tackled. He just runs out of room. Good scoring drive for the Calgary Stampeders, and I agree with our statistician Dave Moyer when he says that's the key play. The one-hander by Alan Pitts, 18-yard catch, really ignited that offense, got Aubrey Cummings involved, and then Travis Moore caps it off.
Pretty quick, too. 2:57, 3:14 to go, first half. A full house at McMahon. And Kerwin Bell has staked the Bombers to a lead, but it's dwindled a little bit now. It's down to 4 points. Bell, far side. Johnson was the target. Coverage was tight. No flags.
Well, you remember
Pryor was covering. Sorry.
Last time Anthony Pryor was covering Albert Johnson down the sideline, he faced Albert Johnson. In other words, he turned towards him. This time, he relied on his speed. He trusted his own speed with Albert Johnson's speed, and he just said, you know what, I'm going to turn away from him, run down the sideline, and just be confident enough that I can run with him, and he was right in his hip pocket and made a nice play.
3-minute warning at McMahon and Calgary. Great ball game brewing tonight between Calgary and Winnipeg. At the half, the boys are ready. Tillman, Dunnigan, Schultz, and James Duthie, and that John Heward look is catching on everywhere.
Catching on like wildfire. Nice hat and a cute face.
Corey Philpott. Flags are down. John Heward and the Argonauts in a key game tomorrow night at BC Place against Greg Mons and the BC Lions. 2 teams that really have to break out of their ruts. We'll be there for that. Should be a lot of fun. Argos and the BC Lions.
Major foul, roughing the passer, Calgary 84, first
Yeah, it's
down.
going to be a great game. Roughing the passer on Kerwin Bell. That was against Ray Jacobs. Bell went down hard as he threw that ball out to Corey Philpott, who was held well short of the first down, so it's a penalty that keeps the drive alive. He's up here at the top of your screen. Now just watch as this finishes. Here's the throw, a couple steps, and then back to the back of the leg, and that's one that you can really get an injury, so I think that was a good call by the official.
Far side, long toss for Powell. Powell makes the catch, and there's a huge hit over there.
Another, I talk about the violence in this game. And that was a little tiny out pattern that Marvin Coleman, that's what you call 3 yards and a headache. They both got headaches. Coleman's over there shaking it off too. Look at the scars on the horse on his helmet. He's got the scars from that hit. They're hitting each other out there tonight.
Winnipeg 2nd and 3. And nowhere for Jones to go initially. He broke out for a bit, and then he's wrapped up by Ray Jacobs.
Little redemption for Ray Jacobs. He gets a penalty to keep the drive alive, but makes the play that stops it. You're only as good as your last play, so now he can safely go back to the sideline. The Calgary Stampeders, knowing Wally Buono will feel a little bit better about him when he gets there.
Bombers have a lead by 4. Calgary defensive coordinator Mike Roach has seen a few games in his day.
Boy, is he ever. 17 years in the Canadian Football League, and he started in Calgary back in 1982.
Cameron is in for Winnipeg. And not deep, this one off the side of his foot. And not much distance, but no return if there's good news for Winnipeg. He's a little frustrated by this season, Bob Cameron, isn't he? Not for his play.
No, he sort of considers himself, well, I don't think he considers himself, but he sort of feels like he's a coach as well as a player, as well as a punter. He's been around long enough to know a little bit about everything and every aspect of this game, including defensive back play, offensive line play, and he just sees the way that this team has lost this year, and it's frustrating for him. He's played well. I mean, with the exception of that last kick, which he's beating himself up about right now. And he played well.
He'd be worried about his kicking buddy, Troy Westwood, too, where he holds for Westwood. Times. Dickinson stands in. He's got Rock Preston, and Preston has the first down. Stampeders out at the 41. This guy's cool, no question about it. Number 15, Dave Dickinson. And this guy's a pretty good back. Good start for a lot of teams, couldn't he?
Rock Preston, nice touchdown, 194 yards rushing on the season. Doesn't get a whole lot of playing time because the starters, Kelvin Anderson, both become free agents at the end of the year. Interesting decision for Wally Buono when this one's over.
Less than 2 minutes to go to halftime. First down, Calgary. Near the 40. Dickinson can't find anybody open. Now Preston coming across the middle, but it's only good for a couple. Make it a 3-yard gain.
Well, Dave Dickinson has been as close to perfect as a quarterback as you can be, and part of the reason for that is that big offensive line up front. I really believe that their play has improved to a point where Dave Dickinson now has the luxury to stand back in that pocket and have a lot more time to look down the field, look at different reads, and go to second and third reads, because that offensive line is giving him the extra time.
This will be 2nd and 8. Shotgun. Dickinson escapes the charge and fires down the side. Bo Richter has it on the dead run. Flags go down. Hamilton wrapped him up. Bo Richter, nice catch. And where's the call going? There's a bomber down there.
Well, it was
clapping hands.
It was right at Bo Richter. I mean, that's where the flag was. Brandon Hamilton is waving it off like it was interference against them.
Winnipeg number 3.
But it's going against Brandon Hamilton. You know, some pushing and shoving going on down the field between Bo Richter and Brandon Hamilton. Hamilton got away with a little handwork early in the game, but this time he doesn't. I mean, it was pretty subtle. Again, I don't see much of a penalty there at all. I mean, you be the judge. No, there's no penalty. I'm siding with the DB on that one.
Well, the catch was made. The gain is 44.
Yeah, the catch was made, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, doesn't much matter. Play action fake, the touchdown toss. Alan Pitts down to the 1. Ball loose in the end zone. Bombers on top of it. Where did they rule the ball dead?
They're saying he was down. They're saying he was down just prior to going into the end zone. They're saying that it was not a fumble, that he was down because the officials up there marking the spot. First down, Calgary at the 1-yard line. Pitch comes across the middle, picks up this catch. It's got a little bit of room on Rio Wells now. He gets into the end zone. The ball, is it out?
Oh, I think he might have ripped it out before.
You know what? He ripped it out because he landed on Wells. He didn't land on the ground.
Stampeders are set up first and goal to go at the Winnipeg 1. 48 seconds till halftime. Brock Preston, Dickinson, touchdown.
It's their goal line play. Little option. Dickinson has a couple of choices, and this time he calls his own number. You know, but we got to go back in a second and look at that Allen Pitts again, because I think that they got away with another one, the Calgary Stampeders. It looked to me like he actually fumbled that football.
I thought it might have come out as he was going down, and that was the way I saw it the first time. I'm not convinced otherwise as yet, but you can show me another replay and convince me. Stampeders have jumped into the lead for the first time tonight on the Blue Bombers. It's 17-14.
Well, the bottom line is the play stood, and here they are for the touchdown. This is the option. Now to give it to Dwayne Ford, keep it yourself, or pitch it to Calvin Anderson, calls his own number. Okay, there's the touchdown. But should they have been down there is the question. Here's the Allen Pitts play. He's coming across the middle. I thought the ball came out, and he landed on Rio Wells. Here comes the strip. Now I think Wells turns to the inside. The ball is loose. Now it's loose, and see the ball is out of there, and he lands on top of Rio Wells. He doesn't actually hit the ground. That ball went into the end zone, and Winnipeg recovered it in the end zone.
Yeah. It's fairly close. He's fairly close to the ground when it comes loose.
Well,
I don't know that that angle is conclusive to say it was a bad call.
It's very tough, and obviously it's tough for the officials who have to make that call in a split second. But the bottom line is when you look back at it, Dave Ritchie might have got jobbed again. Watch this. Cross the middle now. If you hold it right there, is that ball out of there? It's loose in my mind. Now, did Pitts touch the ground? Well, it's awfully close.
Yeah.
They called it right on the on the second.
It's awfully close, and that's about the best we can say from that angle. 42 seconds till halftime. Squib kick. Johnson grabbed it at his bootstraps, and he's out. Stampeders roll him out at about the 35.
Well, now the Stamps are fired up. Come back. They've got the lead. They got a couple of breaks one way or another, and all of a sudden have the lead, and their special teams are fired up because of it.
Well, it's a break if you look at it the other way, too, because it could have gone either way. The Pitts play, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it could have been ruled a fumble, and Calgary might have lost the ball, or
well, yeah,
or the Bombers might have kept them out of the end zone on the Dickinson run.
Well, now Kerwin Bell, you know, he just has 36 seconds to work with, but, you know, 36 seconds is 3 first downs away or 4 first downs away from field goal range.
They begin at the 35. George Jones, little screen, and that works decently well. Now 30 seconds remain. Good for 7.
Get him up there in the hurry up. Why not go for some points? Always play to win games, not play to not lose games.
Well, a field goal here could be huge for Winnipeg.
Well, yeah, it ties the score and gives them a little momentum. But you know what? That little screen's coming back.
It'll be first down repeated.
Another penalty on the field. Legal procedure against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So that little game they had will be wiped out. They'll lose the 6 seconds plus 5 yards, be first and 15.
Stamps on top by 3. Good start by the Bombers. Calgary has roared back. Another little screen. This to Albert Johnson, and Hall, along with Jack Kellogg, rolled him up.
Well, you wonder why the Calgary Stampeders are so good on defense. Well, why is because they're going 100 miles an hour, and the pursuit angles are always there. Ray Jacobs went from rushing the passer to making the tackle on the sideline. You know, and if everybody on your team is playing like that at a high level of intensity, good things are going to happen for you, and they have all year for Calgary.
2nd and 9, Bombers now. Bell missed his target on the far side. Marcus Howell.
Well, now the depending on where the Stampeders can return this ball to, with 21 seconds left, no first down from Winnipeg as they discuss things. I think Marcus Howell just broke off his pattern. That ball bounced on the turf. Now Cameron wants to try and use as much time as he can. Calgary's burned their timeout, so they can't stop it once they blow it in. If Marvin Coleman gets to around midfield, they're a first down away from a field goal range with probably 2 plays left to go. That's how quickly it can happen and change around in the Canadian Football League.
Cameron, tough kick last time. Off the side of his foot. Marvin Coleman. Barker's down, so the Bombers were in that 5-yard area. 12 seconds left.
He's going to get the no yards call. That's going to put it up to about the Calgary 50. Just behind it. That means that 1 first down and a half, and they're in field goal range. They got 12 seconds to do it. That's maybe 3 plays if you're real good, and they're good.
No yards. Winnipeg 0-0. First down.
Boy, there's a guy in that group that was pretty good at the hurry-up offense, and it's not James Duthie.
Why don't you circle him?
It's not this guy.
It's not that guy.
This guy right here. He's pretty good at the hurry-up offense.
Guys are ready and waiting. Lots to talk about from the first half in Calgary.
So now what they want to try and do is get about a 10, 15-yard play, get out of bounds. If they've got chance for one more play, get it a little closer and move it to the middle of the field for Mark McLaughlin.
Dickinson has Alan Pitts. Alan Pitts has enough yards to be in field goal range. 6 seconds on the clock. 6th catch of the night for Alan Pitts as he moves ever nearer to that CFL all-time reception record held by Don Narcisse.
Well, you know, Alan Pitts has made a living on this kind of pattern. It's not a post and it's not a curl. It's kind of a close. You know, like a curl and a... anyway, here it is. See the little inside move? Finds a little hole, kind of stops up. And now Calgary in field goal range, and out comes Mark McLaughlin.
Yeah.
1 play later.
42-yard try. Dickinson will put it down.
Now, having said that, Albert Johnson III has taken a missed field goal all the way back.
122 yards.
Hey, don't get the cheesies yet, because it may be just the last play of the half, but you never know what can happen in the Canadian Football League with the speed of some of the players that are on the field right now, including that guy.
Bomber timeout to try and ice the kicker, as they say. Try and make McLaughlin think about this one a little bit. Nothing to lose for Winnipeg here to give number 13 something to ponder. It'll be spotted at the 42 by Dickinson. It is up and on the money. So the Stampeders roar back to take a fairly good lead at halftime, considering where they were about 7 minutes ago. Stamps on top of the Blue Bombers. It's 20-14 on CFL Live from McMahon in Calgary.
The CFL Live on TSN at the half.
Welcome back to the CFL Live. Duthie, Tillman, Dunnigan, and Schultz. And Winnipeg Blue Bomber fans have to be saying, oh boy, I've kind of seen this film somewhere before. Every single one of their games so far this season, they've led either in the second or the third quarter, and they only have 1 win to show for it. And much the same story, falling apart in about 7 minutes in this one. But Calgary, really give them credit for a great run near the end.
Yeah, you know, Winnipeg did everything right in the first part of the game. Albert Johnson set the tone. And then what happened? Calgary weathered the storm like good teams will, and the playmakers made the plays. We've seen Alan Pitts, one-arm catch, strike the drive alive with the Moore, finish it on a touchdown. And then you see Cummins coming over the middle. You see Pitts again down to the 1. Dickinson to Preston filling in for Anderson. Calgary weathered the storm like good teams should, and Eric, that's the sign of a champion.
Yeah, and you can never, ever, Matt, count out a team like the Calgary Stampeders with all those explosive weapons. And, you know, again, if you're the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, you've got to keep this thing in the proper context. You've gone into McMahon Stadium, and even with all the problems in the second quarter, you're still down by just 1 score, 6 points. You know, Dave Ritchie, when he looks at this film, I know is going to be infuriated by the call down around the goal line. But in fairness to the officials, they have a tough, tough job. And when we look at that thing in the studio 2 or 3 times, and we're still not sure which way it should be called, I think it's hard to criticize them.
But Eric, I really want to kind of praise the Winnipeg Blue Bombers because they're doing everything possible to win football games. They're running plays that the Calgary Stampeders have never seen before, plays that I have never seen before. Look at this. This is a veer option. Fake the fullback, pitch to Corey Philbot at tailback. I mean, no one expects Kerwin Bell to run with the football. So what happens? There's a little bit of hesitation on defense. Here we go again. This is Kerwin Bell sprinting like a college quarterback, finding a receiver open in the outside down by the sidelines. They have to continue to do that, mix up plays, make one or two big ones, and they still will be in this game, James.
Feel sorry for all those Bomber fans who went to make a sandwich or something when they were up by 14-3. 7 minutes later, it is now 20-14. Calgary Stampeders come all the way back. Great start for the Bombers anyway. Got the block punt, got the touchdown, but find themselves behind again at the half. More coming up. Desperate times for these two teams. Tomorrow night on the CFL Live, the Argos take on the Lions. Nary a single victory for these two teams in their last 8 games combined. And this game really overshadowing what could be a historic night. All the Lions' problems masking what could be a big night for Damon Allen.
I think so, James, and I don't want to lose sight of the fact that and the magnitude of what Damon Allen is fixing to accomplish. You know, not only is he an ex-teammate, he's an incredible quarterback in the history of the Canadian Football League, and he's fixing to make history. And he's going to go, just needs 4 completions to be the all-time completion quarterback in the Canadian Football League, surpassing Ronnie Lancaster. To me, that needs to be said and said often. Congratulations, Damon. Go for it, and good luck to you.
You know, this is a crazy business we're in. You look at Damon Allen. Here he's almost has 3,400 completions, and yet everyone's criticizing him. Greg Mons is 21-8 as a head coach, and the media already has the moving vans in front of his house. You know, it's easy to write off the BC Lions after 4 straight losses, but the truth is they have a real opportunity these next 2 weeks to step up and make a statement. If they win the next 2, suddenly they're 500 again and very much a factor in the Western Division race. Heck, the same holds true for the Toronto Argonauts at 1-4-1 with all the problems that they had, all the ridicule that's come their way. If they can get a win tomorrow night in BC Place and come back home, then suddenly they've got some momentum going into the Labor Day Classic with Hamilton. So this is very much a game with ebb and flow. It's about opportunities and about seizing them, and it's going to be interesting, Chris, to see which team steps up tomorrow night.
Well, it may be the Toronto Argonauts because on the positive side, there's no doubt they've improved. You look at this defensive front 7, they can now rush the passer as individuals and as a system. I see a couple cornerbacks in Wayne Shaw and Adrian Smith that have really improved, and 2 offensive tackles in Jerry Kraft and Young Yul Kim that have become good pass blockers. But you know what? The Toronto Argonauts are still in catch-up mode because when you look at in realistic terms, the big picture, their entire training camp was a complete and total bust. They went in with the 2 tight end system, a single tight end system. There are no longer any tight ends on that football field. Now they wanted, or previously they wanted to go with an all-American offensive line to compete against the American-dominated defenses. There are no Americans on that offensive line, and they have not developed a quarterback, nor have they really supported a quarterback either. You have to have both situations. The Toronto Argonauts have improved, but they are still in catch-up mode. Now, if they beat the BC Lions, they've caught up a little bit more, but I don't think they're quite there yet, James.
All right, and all you folks in BC who want to get a ticket to this one, we're going to give you the relevant information. No matter where you are in the CFL, jot down one of these numbers. A ticket is just a phone call away. Your numbers from the first half of play: 292 yards passing for the Stamps. Much of those came in the last 7 minutes when they scored both the touchdowns. And only 116 net yards for Winnipeg. Their great play in the 2 big plays on the fumble recovery and the block kick, really masking what was an ineffective first half offensively for the Bombers. Stamps out in front again. Sherry Hargrave spoke with Wally Buono.
Well, Coach, not exactly a stellar first quarter, but wow, what a comeback in the second.
Well, again, the block kick always hurts, and they've done a nice job on their kickoff returns, but our guys are settling down. I think our offense is playing very well. But like I say, it's a good first half. I'm glad that we got the 6 points now.
Now you have the momentum going into the second. What else do you need for the victory?
Well, again, I think we just have to concentrate on doing our jobs. Like I say, the block kick was just a communication problem. We made some adjustments on the kickoff, and obviously that's going to help us.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck.
All right, let's look ahead to the second half. What do you see?
Well, anyway, anytime you give up 300 yards passing in the first half, you've got problems in the secondary. I think Winnipeg has to play more zone because in man, they're jocks all over the field. Man.
All season long, Eric, they haven't been able to finish drive. It's killing them tonight. They need to finish the drives against a team like Calgary. You can't afford just to get 3.
Dan DeRosio, offensive line coach for the Calgary Stampeders, has done a great job going on the sideline saying, guys, this is what they're doing, A, B, and C. This is how we're going to compete against it, D, E, and F. And they've done the job. That's why those receivers are so wide open.
I have never heard you guys been so brief. Very, very impressive. We're getting ready for the second half of football, and it may be a record-breaking second half. Alan Pitts now just 3 away from the record. Stay tuned. That's coming up.
Wally Buono's Calgary Stampeders scored 17 unanswered points in the first half to take the lead on the Bombers by 6. Here's Sherry Hargrave.
Did you tell them at halftime?
I told them we had to stop giving things away. Basically, our offense has got to take over. When we make something happen, they got to go in and score. We haven't scored a touchdown yet. So that's what we got to do. And the defense has been left out there to dry. So they've got to come up big and stop the little curls and the picks that are coming across the field. And once they do that, maybe we've got a chance.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck.
Bombers have not played that poorly in this football game. Alan Pitts is having another one of those nights and closes in on Don Narcisse for another CFL record.
Well, a lot of those little curls that Dave Ritchie was talking about were to Alan Pitts, and caught.
Whoa, that was the beauty.
Yeah, he caught 6 passes in the first half. He's now 3 away from passing Donald Narcisse. We'll keep our eye closely on Mr. Pitts, and that's what Dave Ritchie talked about. He's climbing up the ladder, and he's climbing up in a hurry tonight.
A couple away from surpassing Don Narcisse. Albert Johnson III for the Bombers on the return out at about the 32. And Aldi Henry was one of the tacklers there. 67 on the kickoff, 17 on the return. Quarterbacks stack up this way through the first half.
Well, Dave Ritchie, he hit it right on the head. I mean, Kerwin Bell hasn't played poorly, 13 of 18, not a lot of yards, but they haven't scored when they've had a chance on turnovers, and Dickinson just rolling along with his 1 TD to Travis Moore. He's got his team right back in the second quarter. I thought it was an interesting decision by Wally Buono at the coin toss. I'll get back to that in 1 minute.
First down, Winnipeg. Bell has to get the Bombers rolling here. And there's no one home on the far side for Kerwin Bell.
Bell is mad at Corey Philpott. He wanted him to turn out and not keep going down the field. But Wally Buono decided to take an end when they won the toss, decided to take an end. That's why the Winnipeg Blue Bombers started the first half with the football. They'll also start the second half with the football. He wanted to win in the second and fourth quarters of this game. And he knows the weather here in Calgary better than anybody.
Do you think he might have called the weather office just to check and see what's happening out there in the foothills? 2nd and 10, Winnipeg. Bell. And his receiver, Simon, slipped. Pass was a little off target as well, so.
Yeah, but there's been some communication problems. First of all, Corey Philpott on first down did not turn out when Kerwin Bell wanted to. That time, G-Roy Simon and Marcus Howell are standing side by side. And if 2 receivers are ever standing side by side on the field, someone's made a mistake. One of the 2 is in the wrong spot.
Hands, please. Enter Bob Cameron, 2 and out for the Bombers. 2 deep for the Stampeders. Cameron with a bit of a breeze at his back. This is Marvin Coleman. And a pile of white sweaters surrounded him. 6 yards on the return for Coleman after a 40-yard punt.
Well, you know, if you look down at the statistical story, this is what surprises me always in a close game like this. Why both teams aren't really running the football at all. You know, 7 runs in the first half for Calgary. Kelvin Anderson has been a non-factor.
Yeah, but he's shaken up. He missed the last couple of sequences in the first half, so we're checking on Kelvin Anderson.
And then they could throw in Rock Preston and get him involved.
Yeah, they could do that.
You know, and I know Winnipeg's game plan coming in was to get both their running backs involved, George Jones and Corey Philpott. So they've abandoned that, both teams. They're just going to throw the football.
Just what the Bombers didn't need to do after falling behind by 6 points was give Calgary this kind of field position. Stamps begin at the 45. Dickinson is hot, little shovel pass there. And that was Rock Preston.
And that is considered a throw for the record. So even though it was just a little thing to Rock Preston, it's a forward pass, even though it's underhand.
Not all that successful, less than a yard gain.
Well, you know, the one thing Winnipeg did defensively in the first half, at least in the first quarter when they got the lead and they had Calgary off balance, is they gambled. They brought Tom Europe up. They blitzed their secondary people. They're not doing that and haven't done it in the second quarter. They're not doing it again here in the third. So see if they go back to that.
2nd and 10. Dickinson got some heat, but he found his receiver, and the receiver gets away. It's Travis Moore. Has a touchdown already and a great season going. Number 83, Travis Moore.
See, and I like the idea to go after Dave Dickinson and just gamble with some blitzes, because if you sit back like the Winnipeg defense is now, this is what's going to happen all game. It'll be pitch and catch for the Calgary Stampeders. Travis Moore, nice miss there, makes Rio Wells miss a tackle and picks up some good yardage. And there is another big night already for Dave Dickinson.
Over 300 one more time. He was over 300 last week and came out midway through the 4th quarter.
This Calgary offense, it's hard to imagine that they're that much better this year than they were last, but they are.
Well, the offensive line is playing better. They've got some continuity up there. Childress and Ram were not around at the start of last season, so these guys have been around all training camp and for the first 6 games. Far side for Aubrey Cummings. Nice little move for Cummings, and he's inside the 30. Just so many weapons for Dave Dickinson to choose from, and he spreads it around brilliantly. Let's bring in Sherry down at the Stampeder bench.
Well, as you guys have mentioned, Calvin Anderson is sitting on the bench. He has sprained his right ankle, but it's okay, and he can go back in. He's just going to see how the game goes and how Rock Preston does. So you might see Anderson back in action again tonight.
Well, he's got to work on that part of the game.
Yeah, no. Sorry that we caught you with that, Kelvin.
Yeah.
But, you know, those close-ups, you got to be prepared when the camera's around.
Yeah.
And if you're going to spit, spit straight.
Got to spit straight out. Get a little more arc on your spit. Well, not good news to have him on the sideline, but
First down repeated.
Wally Buono has done a nice job building this team and building depth in this team, and Rock Preston goes in, and the Calgary offense won't miss a beat. And you know, Calvin Anderson, the competitor that he is, won't be out of the lineup for very long.
First and 15 now from the 35.
It'll be 1st and 15 for the Stampeders after that miscue. Just nicely into the 3rd quarter with Calgary on top by 6. Dickinson. Uh-oh. In a little trouble. He got it away and fired it into about row 2.
Well, they've improved offensively so much. A lot of it is Dave Dickinson and the decision-making process. A lot of it is George Cortez, the offensive coordinator. We talked about the offensive line improving, but you think back to last year and this time last season, this team was on fire offensively, and this year they're blowing away those numbers.
Yeah, 37.5 points a game on average. And lots of yards. This is 2nd and 15. Dickinson goes for the bunch. He's got it. Another one for Travis Moore. 2 tonight, 2 last week. That's 10 on the season.
All right, let's see the dance. See the dance. It's the Calgary Stomp. Is that what it is? The Calgary Stomp.
It's the Calgary Stampede. That's what it is. Well, and that's what they're doing to the Bombers here as Blue makes another lap around McMahon Stadium. These guys are just too tough to give an inch, you know. The Stampeders.
Well, that's why I think you got to blitz them. You got to get after them, take some chances, and say, hey, if we just sit back, it's going to be pitch and catch. And that's what it was on that series. Travis Moore caps it off with another huge play, and big touchdown for him to get to double figures.
Martin McLaughlin hammers another point through. So the Stampeders have scored 24 in a row on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Cheerleaders and the football players know how to dance in Calgary. Stampeders have opened things up on the Blue Bombers after a hot start by Winnipeg. 27-14 is the score in favor of the hometown Cowboys.
Giddy up.
Giddy up, and that's what they've done. After spotting the Bombers, an early lead, Calgary has roared right back. McLaughlin set to kick it away. Philpott and Johnson are deep for Winnipeg. This is Albert Johnson III. Couple of big returns early. And this one well covered by Calgary special teams. That was Ray Biggs, number 33, with the tackle after a 20-yard return. Travis Moore, couple of touchdowns tonight. Seems like he gets a couple of touchdowns every game.
Well, the Stampeders have been trying to exploit the middle of that defense all game long, and they finally do. Right over the middle to Travis Moore, who the only guy he really had to beat was the goalpost, because Marcus Washington, number 37, in his very first game with the Bombers, is the guy supposed to be covering Travis Moore, and he's in his very first game. He went, man, that guy's fast. He just ran right by me for about a 4-yard gap and cushion and touchdown.
That was a 35-yard touchdown for the Stampeders. Let's see if the Bombers can answer. Kerwin Bell steps up. Got the completion. No, he didn't. Philpott couldn't hang on. Bell is hammered to the turf. Philpott would have had a yard had he been able to hang on to the ball.
Well, now this is where that defense for Calgary will start pinning their ears back and getting after it. Shante Peoples is right in the mix. He's pulling down Kerwin Bell, but they're going to start sending more people. They're going to start going after it. They know that Winnipeg cannot run the football now, that they're going to throw the football on every down pretty much. So Joe Fleming, Shante Peoples, Jeff Traversy, and Ray Jacobs will just get after it.
2nd and 10, and the Stamps roar after Bell again. Nice catch near sidelines. Albert Johnson III brought that one in, and that'll be enough for a Bomber first down.
Well, if there's a guy that can get some momentum back for you, it's Albert Johnson III, and it's great concentration by him, because Richard Pryor, see him swipe his hand in front of there? That's enough a lot of times to distract the receiver enough that he'll drop it. But Albert Johnson kept his eye focused on that football and brought it in.
Bell under the coverage. Robert Gordon has another Winnipeg first down.
You could almost call Robert Gordon suitcase.
He's been everywhere.
He has been everywhere, and he's been in Ottawa a couple of stays. He's pretty much been everywhere except Calgary and Hamilton, I believe.
So that's Ottawa, Saskatchewan, Toronto, Winnipeg.
He's been on teams that aren't even in the league right now. Maybe again next year, but aren't in the league now.
Almost picked up. As Bell really missed an opportunity there. Coleman had a chance.
Well, I'm not sure where he was throwing the football. And again, there seems to be some communication problems with Kerwin Bell and his receiving corps. Milt Stiegel, his man, his go-to guy, is out of the lineup. We talked about that at the beginning.
2nd and 10. This is a long toss, and Simon looked like he slowed down a little bit to me.
Well, he had him, too. He was in behind Eddie Davis. He had him by about 3 yards. And, you know, Kerwin Bell just didn't put enough air on the football. Sometimes it's not how far you throw it, but how accurate you throw it. And Kerwin Bell tried to just gun it down the field, put a nice spiral on it, threw it hard enough and far enough. He just didn't put enough air on it. So G. Roy Simon really didn't have time to just run underneath it.
So a penalty against the Bombers on the play as well. And a punting situation for Winnipeg on 3rd and a whole bunch.
Well, this is a big defensive series for Dave Ritchie. You can give the ball back to Calgary. They seem to be on a roll again. That offense is just moving it down the field, little pitch and catch. So big series defensively for the Bombers.
Too deep for the Stampeders as Cameron gets under this one. Marvin Coleman has taken 5 back in his day. There are flags every 5 yards up the field. So a couple of infractions spotted there, or at least one infraction spotted by a couple of officials at different angles.
John, it's awfully tough with this huge Canadian Football League field to cover the field in flags. It almost is right now.
Looks like this one will go against the Calgary Stampeders. Bombers are down 27-14 on CFL Live. Stampeders on a nice little roll. Here's how they've done in their last 4 possessions and racked up a pile of points on Winnipeg.
Yeah, and look at these 2 drives. They're long drives, starting on their own 35 and 31 and ending in touchdowns. Pretty good. So here they go. Now that's why it's a big defensive series for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Stampeders, they'll begin near the 7-yard line. Dickinson stands in, far side. Travis Moore can't catch up with it.
Dave Dickinson looking deep down the sidelines.
Hamilton was covering. A full house at McMahon Stadium, 35,494. Well, I lied. They're 473 shy of a sellout, largest crowd of the season.
Well,
here at McMahon.
That's attendance in the building, but I don't think there was a ticket to buy heading into the game. And there's, you know that helmet right there? That's what I wore in my rookie year. I think Schultz had that one in his rookie year.
That was pre-leather.
Yeah, pre-leather. That's the cloth one. Yeah, that was Schultz's rookie year.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had to wear
Your
one of
mom
those.
had to knit those for you, right?
And that's probably, you know, why he's like he is.
Second and 10, near side. No catch.
Oh boy, this
Aubrey Cummings. Saw Bolden coming.
Something you don't see very often from this Calgary offense. A flaw. I mean, and
catchable.
Well, it was just straight out drop pass by Aubrey Cummings, and again, like the ball's right on the money. The play is the play. It is where it should be thrown, and it's just a drop pass, something that you rarely see from this offense over the last 4 games, and that's simply a drop pass right on the money in first down territory.
Yeah, there was a little company in the neighborhood, though. Bolden was right there.
Yeah, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, man, give them credit, because just mentioned, it's a big series for them. They did their job and stopped them. Now they're going to get great field position when they get the football back.
This is an opportunity the Bombers really have to take advantage of here with lots of time left in the ball game. Good return here, points from it, and the Bombers are right back in this thing. They're trailing 27-14. Martino will give up 2 more and try and save a little field position for the Stampeders. So it's 27-16 now.
Well, now they'll save the field position and have to kick off, but Winnipeg will get the ball deep in their end rather than around the 40. So Wally Buono's basically saying, listen, we're going to give him the ball back basically in field goal range. Albert Johnson III is back there. He could return one for big yardage. Let's give him the 2 rather than give him a chance at 3 automatically and possibly 7.
Great golf action on TSN tomorrow. 6 hours, in fact. All live first-round coverage of the PGA Championship. The 82nd renewal. Tiger, Vijay, and Jack are in one foursome you can watch tomorrow. Last year, it was Tiger winning over Sergio Garcia. And this year, they're at the Valhalla in Louisville.
Jack and Tiger in the same threesome. I love that. Jack and Tiger, the great one and the next one. Well, he's arrived, I guess. I guess we can say Tiger's arrived.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
Mike Ware's in the field as well. And I'm sure Calgary residents will be watching Stephen Ames, who lives here in Calgary these days. Great night at McMahon Stadium. Stampeders lead the league in attendance. They've done a super marketing job to bring this franchise back to the top of the heap in the CFL. Let's see if Albert Johnson III can put a little spark in this Bomber return. Not bad. He's up to the 42. So the field position is decent for Kerwin Bell. And then they give him the yank on me. It's Kahari Jones coming out for this sequence.
Well, that's what we thought may happen in this game. Kerwin Bell was less banged up than Kahari Jones. He has a bit of an ankle, and he talked to me before the game, said that the ankle's a lot worse than we're making out. He said it's really hampering my mobility. A guy that really relies on moving around in the pocket and running with the football as well. So he's got that ankle taped up, but forced into action because Kerwin Bell just wasn't finishing off drives.
So Kahari Jones, who started last week and struggled against the Argonauts, into the game for Winnipeg. Little pitch to George Jones, going nowhere. Kerwin Bell on the evening, 15 of 26, 126 yards, the 1 interception.
You know, and in fairness to Kerwin Bell, I saw a lot of miscommunication from receivers on the field tonight. And
yeah, he was frustrated on that first sequence without question.
And he went over there and talked to them a couple of times. And again, Milt Stiegel's not in the lineup, and that makes it a lot tougher for him.
Loss of 1, 2nd and 11. Bombers near the 40. Jones with time behind his intended target in midfield. That was Marcus Howell.
Yeah, actually, I thought it was Albert Johnson on that side coming across. And he had him open. Here's what he's going to do, Joe. He's going to come right across in front of Marvin. Watch this, right on Anthony Pryor. Got some separation, and the ball is just thrown behind him and poorly. And, you know, and Kahari Jones is not warm enough, hasn't taken a snap, hasn't thrown the football except for that little 10-yard warm-up they do on the sideline. Comes in there and just is off the target.
Another 2 and out for the Bombers. 6:53 to go, third quarter. Marvin Coleman, a little jump catch there. Flags everywhere at the 40-yard line on a 3-yard return following a 33-yard punt. So a couple of infractions possibly down there. Dave Ritchie can't believe his misfortune.
Well, you know, but you think of how sound Wally Buono is on the other sideline and how sound the decision-making process is for him. You think back to the safety he gives up, and it worked out exactly the way he wanted it to.
That penalty is applied. Illegal block, Calgary 33. That penalty is declined. It's first down, Calgary.
So both penalties go against the Stampeders. Timeout at McMahon. Wally Buono on top. CFL Live from Calgary. Stampeders offensive coordinator George Cortez calls all the plays, and there's proof that he does a pretty good job of it.
Well, look at this. Last year they were a great offense. Look what they've done this year. They're up and rush on points, up in rushing, up in passing yards. When you add it all up, they're over 700 yards better than they were last year in total offense. It just, this offense in Calgary gets better every year, and they're already great.
Yeah. 27-16, Stamps on top of the Bombers. Dickinson, first down. Over the middle, there's one more for Alan Pitts. Out across the 35.
Okay. Countdown.
That's 7 tonight.
Countdown time for Alan Pitts. 1 away from tying. Here goes. Number 7 on the night. Little curl pattern in front of Rio Wells. Rio Wells is going to be one of those trivia questions one day. Who did Alan Pitts beat to beat Don Narcisse's all-time catches record?
Well, it may not be Rio Wells before this is over, but you're right, it could be. On the ground for Rock Preston. And he's out across the 40 to about the 42. Brian Clark, one of the Bomber tacklers there.
You know, I'm talking to Wally Buono about Alan Pitts. I think they want to do it at home. I think they want him to do it right here tonight at home, get that record, and be able to announce it. Alan Pitts started with the Stampeders the same year that Wally Buono did. They've been together for over a decade.
Yeah, it's 11 seasons for both. And it's interesting that success has come for the Calgary Stampeders with both those guys on the sidelines and on the field. This is 2nd and 5. Here comes the heat for Dickinson. He's away from the first wave and then got hammered by about 3 Bombers. Wickman is there, the middle linebacker, number 55, but this guy's a tough cookie, number 15, isn't he?
Well, you think about that, John. I mean, think back to, you know, what you're talking about with Alan Pitts and 10 years with this team. Every offense in any league needs a go-to guy. They need a consistency, a factor in there, a guy that they know every game in and game out is going to be there. He's going to be reliable. He's not going to drop the big catch. He's going to hang on to it. He's going to be the guy that gets open when you need him. And if you think of Alan Pitts being that guy here for over 10 years, I mean, it really is the reason for the success of this team.
Well, it's been a great receiving corps the entire time that Wally Buono's been here. I mean, talk about Pitts, but before Danielson came along, there was a guy called Sapunjas who was a pretty fine receiver, too. Albert Johnson, the third, away from the first Calgary Stampeder tackler, looks for room to the outside, and he's turned the corner. Albert Johnson is out near the 37-yard line. He's exciting to watch. And so is this show. Football this week with Suter and Schultz. Monday this week. We're making a little adjustment for the PGA Championship.
So it'll be on Monday, and check it out. We've got a great show. We're going to recap the week in the CFL. We'll talk to Charlie Tapp from the Montreal Alouettes, and also talk to Ronnie Lott, who was just inducted into the National Football League Hall of Fame. And one of my favorite players of all time. Of course, he was a safety.
Yeah, he played safety.
And a corner.
Yeah. With a pretty good team, right?
And he liked to hit. And that was a fun guy to watch play the game.
Kari Jones has G-Roy Simon on first down, halfway to a first down.
You know, like Kahari Jones right now in an important game, down the way they are 27-16. When he needs a play right now on 2nd and 6, 2nd and 7, what's his go-to guy? They've got talent, no question. But which guy does he go to right now?
How about Dave Donaldson, who's now in on offense? Right in the wrong hands. Greg Frere's second interception of the game, 4th of the year. I should say 5th of the year. 2 have gone for touchdowns. Miscommunication down there, and Greg Frere's, a 99 All-Star, has his second on the night.
Well, second on the night. Again, it was an overthrow. The first one was an overthrow with Winnipeg knocking on the goal line and almost there. Greg Fresh is going to drop over here and then just slide to the football. Ball's overthrown, and he says, "Thank you very much. I'll take that."
That was his easiest.
Kahari Jones just let it get away from him. You know, he's thrown 3 passes in this game, and 2 of them have been terrible.
So on the turnover, the Stamps begin at the Winnipeg 50. Dickinson right to work. Receivers covered. He has about 8 yards. Well, we'll see where they spot it, but better than 5, somewhere around 7.
Well, I got the feeling that Dave Dickinson is holding the hammer, and Alan Pitts has kind of got the nail, and they're looking at the coffin saying, well, let's put this last one in here and let's see how we can get this thing wrapped
take
up.
The 4th quarter off. Is that what you're saying? Alan Pitts, 2 catches away from another CFL record. He needs 1 to tie Don Narcisse for most receptions. What a catch. There were flags everywhere, however. Vince Danielson had a hot start, and he comes back with a great catch near the 25. This may be coming back, however.
Well, there's a penalty. I'm not sure if Winnipeg was offside. They may have been offside, and that way the play would stand.
Winnipeg 97.
Declined.
It's first down.
Ronnie Harris, but do you get the feeling that this receiving corps it's like one-up each other every time? I mean, it's like they watch Alan Pitts make a nice catch, and then Aubrey Cummings comes up with one, and then Mark Bolrichter, the rookie, catches one, so Vince Danielson's, I want one, and they outdo each other every play.
One of the great stories about this Calgary offense and the receivers in it, George Cortez, the offensive coordinator, calls all the plays. That way, when Dickinson goes into the huddle, none of the receivers can speak to him because he's, I'm not calling the plays, it's the coach. They all want the ball. Here's Dickinson, there's Pitts, and he's down to the 5-yard line. That's number 8, and that gets him even.
He's all tied with Don Narcisse, all-time catches in Canadian Football League history, and it was another big one over the middle for Alan Pitts.
919.
You know what?
Alan Pitts and Don Narcisse, and here's how it looked.
Tied the record on a pattern that he has seriously made a living off in his career. That little half-post, half-curl pattern right over the middle, and don't be surprised if they don't look for him in the end zone right now.
That's exactly what's on Dickinson's mind.
That's him right at the bottom of your screen. There he goes.
Alan Pitts can't hang on. He was on the goal line and hammered.
Jerome Bolden said,
whoa,
if you're going to break the record tonight,
it's not on my corner.
You're going to earn it, baby. You're going to earn it. He's just going to run the quick out and watch the hit he takes. If you're going to break the record, you're going to earn it. It's a violent game, folks. It's a violent game. Look at this.
Well, Dickinson shouldn't have thrown it in there.
Well, you tell me any other game in the world that you can get hit like that in. I don't think so.
Well, now they've got to think about making sure they get the touchdown, the Stampeders here. 1:18 to go. This lead is not substantial enough with a whole quarter after this. Dickinson shotgun, 4 receivers far side.
You know what, John? I think he was trying to find it to him. I think that Dave Dickinson was trying to get the ball to Alan Pitts, and I'm not sure if he was thinking about that record, but twice he tried to get it to him in double coverage.
Yeah. Both times there were 2 bombers right on top of Alan Pitts.
Here's the second one. Dave Donaldson's in there, and right in front of your screen, look at that. That's Brian Clark. Double coverage again on Pitts, trying to force the ball to him. Trying to break that record. And they'll have to wait until the next series, but they still got lots of time in this game. In fact, the whole quarter.
Stampeders will settle for 3 from Mark McLaughlin. No problem. 30-16 now. Calgary has roared back on the Blue Bombers.
Well, they're moving right along and getting close to that average. They're averaging 34.7 points a game and just 4.7 away from it. Lots of game to play. I think Dave Dickinson tried to get him the record on the touchdown throw, and of course Winnipeg, they know who the go-to guy is, especially down near the goal line, and they paid a lot of attention to Pitts, especially Jerron Bolden on that big hit.
5, 6, 7.
Stampeders have scored 27 of the last 29 points, and here's Alan Pitts up on the board with 919 catches in his CFL career. Even with Don Narcisse, he already holds the record for the most touchdowns by a receiver and the most yards by a receiver, which he set last year in Edmonton. The Stampeders would dearly love to get him the record of 920 here tonight at McMahon Stadium. A near capacity crowd on hand, and let everybody enjoy the celebration with Alan Pitts.
Well, yeah, and that's exactly it. A full house. They all know about the record. It was written about all week, and knew that he would be close. And Wally Buono said, hey, listen, if he breaks the record tonight, he's having a big game. It probably means we're going to win the game. And, well, they got a good lead right now.
Albert Johnson III trying to get something going for the Blue Bombers here. No flag on a block that looked like it was from behind, but not much of a return either.
So what has Alan Pitts done in his career? Well, just a few yards, over 14,000 touchdowns, 115 touchdowns in his career, including that huge season where he had 21.
Yards in a season, 2,036. Those are all Alan Pitts records.
And that's updated. He is over 100 tonight, so that's his 63rd 100-yard game, which is also a record in the Canadian Football League.
So much for Kahari Jones. This is Kerwin Bell back at the controls. Philpott made the catch and might have lost yards. Solid defensive work by Darrell Hall.
Yeah, just a couple of bad throws by Kahari Jones. And, you know, when you talk about an ankle injury, John, yeah, it obviously affects your running ability, but it can also affect your throwing ability. If you can't plant like you want, if you can't step up strong, it takes the zip off the football. And Kahari Jones was not accurate in a couple of throws, and he's back on the bench.
Gain of 1 previous play, 2nd and 9. Kerwin Bell, last play of the quarter, and Philpott is wrapped up again. Bombers send out the kicking team to begin the 4th quarter. Good start for Winnipeg, but the offense hasn't been able to get into the end zone. The Calgary Stampeders have roared back for a 14-point lead.
The CFL live on TSN at the quarter. Brought to you by New Arctic Ice, the invigorating new fragrance of the Gillette series. It's beyond refreshing.
You saw some of Alan Pitts' impressive numbers. Here's the Calgary media guide, and there is 7 pages on Alan Pitts, and believe me, the writing is very, very small. What an unbelievable career and impressive record.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, the thing about Alan Pitts, you talk about his stats, and they're amazing. Over 900 catches, over 100 touchdowns. But the most important thing about the football team, as long as Alan Pitts has been with them, is that they win. I mean, he's a truly great football player that impacts a football game. As he's gotten older and as his skills have changed, he's defined or refined his game to fit his strengths. And just really a great football player and a guy that we should tip our hat to tonight. Alan Pitts, a guy that will be in the Canadian Football League Hall of Fame, a great, great talent, Matty.
Tonight it's Alan Pitts. Friday night it's going to be Damon Allen. Tonight as well, it's the Calgary Stampeder defensive rush that Calgary is benefiting from. Mike Roach, defense coordinator, knows the importance of a good pass rush, especially on a quarterback who struggled. And who else knows how important a defensive rush is? Greg Fears. He's going to take every one of those guys out for steak dinner because he is benefiting from their pass rush. Yeah, I saw Alondra Johnson get in there and pressure a little bit too, Chris, but I tell you, Mike Roach has got those guys on their game and they're pressuring the quarterback.
Yes, he does. There's no doubt about that. But I want to talk a little bit about a big picture. We have a two-tier league right now. BC, Toronto, Winnipeg, and Saskatchewan are struggling a little bit. But what these players got to remember, the playoffs. Two of these teams are going to make the playoffs. So the group of guys that focus and look at that specific goal, even though it's in August, those are the ones that are going to get ahead. Who cares what the record is now for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers? Get in the playoffs, everything changes.
And some perspective on the numbers. We talked about Alan Pitt's numbers. How about Travis Moore? 10 TDs now. He has now tied the entire BC Lions team, and he's one behind the Argos. That is impressive. Let's send you back for fourth quarter action.
All right, guys, Bombers got a decent start, but the Calgary Stampeders have scored way too many points and surpassed Winnipeg by 14 at 30-16. Here are the numbers through three quarters.
Dave Ritchie said it at halftime. He's leaving the defense out to dry, and that time of possession told that story.
Short kick, Coleman waits for a hop, draws a flag at the 45. 34-yard punt, no return, but they'll get a little bit with the penalty tacked on.
34-yard kick and a penalty come.
Alan Pitts on the verge of another CFL milestone. This is Commonwealth in Edmonton last year when Alan Pitts set another standard.
All-time leading receiver in yardage on this play. Nothing fancy about that one. Quick little out. And that put him past Ray Elgard on the all-time list into first place in yardage. He just keeps continuing to add to that total, and now is one catch away from Donald Narcisse in catches.
First and 10, one catch will do it and put Pitts in a place by himself in CFL history. Travis Moore was the intended receiver there, and Dickinson took a little hit.
Well, that hurt him too, and again, Dave Dickinson has had a lot of time tonight. The offensive line has done a pretty nice job. Here he goes down hard, I think, more than anything. I believe it was Rylan Wickman, the middle linebacker, that pulled him down. And
second and 10 for Dave Dickinson of the Calgary Stampeders, the CFL's only unbeaten team. Out across the 50 at the 51. Some early movement. Now the flags come down. Dickinson stands in. Pitts can't make the catch. Maybe just as well, because I think the Stampeders were offside. Dickinson also got hammered.
Yeah, Dickinson got hit. Pitts couldn't come up with it. That magic number to get over to 920. And Jerome Bolton, the corner that was trying to cover him, looked like he pulled his hamstring. Deroney Harris is the guy who put the hit on Dave Dickinson. And he's going to get a penalty for it. Well, he made that late hit early in the game that I thought was a questionable call. This one here, he throws it and mistreating the quarterback. 15-yard penalty. Thank you very much.
So the Stampeders out across midfield in the Winnipeg territory.
Jerome Bolton was limping around. He was the guy trying to cover. There he is on the turf. He was trying to cover Alan Pitts on that crossing pattern. And when he moved for the football, it looked like he pulled his hamstring.
He wouldn't be faking it, would he? I mean, just think.
He doesn't want, you mean he doesn't want to be in the trivia question?
He doesn't want to be the answer. I'm kidding. Honestly, I'm kidding.
No, he's not faking.
Durant, if you watch this tape, I was really kidding. Well, somebody could be on this drive the answer to the trivia question.
He'll be replaced by Dave Donaldson, but it won't be Dave Donaldson covering Pitts on this play. It'll be Rio Wells.
One catch needed by Alan Pitts to surpass Don Narcisse. They're dead even in receptions in their CFL careers. And that was for Rock Preston. I don't think he saw it coming.
But Pitts was open.
Was he?
You know, Dave Dickinson left him. He looked at him initially, and the Bombers were kind of there, but then he flashed open in behind him and was waving frantically. Watch this. See, right here, that's what Dave's looking at him. But now look at this. Now he's open. He slips in there. Dave still has the ball. And now you just stand there going, oh, I was there. He starts waving, man. Look, number 18. You know, the
Remember
guy,
me.
You know, the guy, 900 catch. I was there.
I've caught 8 tonight. I just need 1 more, and I'll break the record. 2nd and 10, Stampeders. We're into the final quarter at McMahon. Here comes the Bomber charge. Batted down at the line.
Trying to get it to him again. This time it was knocked down at the line of scrimmage. So that time he did stay with Alan Pitts. Alan Pitts opened up late, but it was knocked down.
You know, all the times we've seen Alan Pitts and the Calgary quarterbacks make it look easy. In the last couple of sequences, they just haven't been able to come close to hooking up, can they?
Well,
Have they?
You always say, you know, that last goal in overtime is always the toughest to score. The game 7 always the toughest to win. Well, for Alan Pitts, breaking the record in that last catch is going to be the toughest. You know it.
30-16, Stampeders lead the Blue Bombers. Still lots of time for the Bombers to get back into this game if Albert Johnson III can come up with it. An electrifying return. Down at the 5. Takes the short side and slides through to about the 15, maybe the 17. 11 on the return. Aldi Henry, great special teams player, made the tackle for the Stampeders. 82nd PGA Championship, and the Calgary Outriders celebrating another great night for the Stampeders here.
You know what I love about golf, John?
Albert Johnson makes the catch. No, what do you like about golf?
What I love about golf, you know, it's been a tough Friday and maybe a tough Saturday, and it's Sunday morning and the golf is on and you got a bit of a headache and you're lying on the couch, relax. What I love about golf is everyone whispers. It's beautiful.
So what do you do with the kids in a situation like that?
Well,
where are they?
Yeah, that's...
Yeah. They don't whisper, do they?
Yeah, there's no whispering going on there.
Kerwin Bell for the Bombers. Almost picked out, and it was right into the mitts.
Well, you can't get more of a gift than that. Jason Clement standing there going, well, that surprised him. I think it surprised him more than anything. You know, he got hit right, a bad spot between the 9 and the 6.
Yeah, right in the hands.
You know, interesting, Jason Clemens played well all season long, and Kevin Johnson, remember that name, John? Linebacker for the Stampeders last year, took a shot at the NFL while he was released by the Green Bay Packers, cleared waivers, and will be back in town probably next week.
2nd and 10 for the Bombers with time running out, and that time Bell was hammered. And he hit the running back, George Jones, in the back. Shante Peoples was in on Kerwin Bell.
This is typical of the Winnipeg season to this point. Plays that they need big plays, just communication problems. Kerwin Bell, look at this right here. Not even looking back to the ball, looking to block, and Bell has to get rid of it, just hopes that he turned around, and he hit him between the 2 and the 2, but it was the wrong 2. It was the one on the back.
Yeah, the one on the back. So here's Bob Cameron again. Stampeders should have decent field position. 12-17 to go as Cameron got a little pressure, but got it away. Marvin Coleman back at the Calgary 30. Not many big returns tonight for Coleman, but he's steady as they come. And he's out to the 37 with a 5-yard return. We're watching the CFL live from Calgary and watching Alan Pitts go after another CFL record. McMahon Stadium rocking one more time. Almost a sellout here for the Calgary Stampeders and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Largest crowd of the season, about 400 shy of every seat being occupied here tonight. We're watching Alan Pitts as he sets sights on another CFL milestone. Should get it tonight. Almost guaranteed, right, Glenn?
Well, one catch away and still lots of time, over 10 minutes. Yeah, I would think he'll get it.
1st and 10 Calgary. Pitts, one catch away. It'll be Rock Preston.
Hey, he dropped the ball.
And the ball is loose. Depends who has it down there. Bombers are celebrating.
Rylan Wickman picked it up. It was a hard hit at the point of attack. I mean, there has been some violence. We talked about it all game long. There's been some big hits in this game. And that was maybe the biggest. He shot through the middle. Rock Preston got rocked. Watch the hit. He's going to hit it on the opposite side. Now watch the hit when he gets up by that official to your right of your screen. We went with the fake for a second too, but there's the big hit. That was done by Brian Clark. Ball goes on the ground and Rylan Wickman picks it up.
So here are the Bombers set up inside the Calgary Stampeder 40-yard line at the 37. Great chance to get right back because there's lots of time left in the game. 11:30 to go. Bell under pressure. Flags are down. Ball is loose. Bombers back to midfield to recover it. But Bell got hammered again. Sawatsky comes up with it for Winnipeg. We'll check the infraction.
Holding, Winnipeg 66. That's decline. Second down.
Well, John, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of Winnipeg Blue Bomber fans right now asking this question. What is wrong with our offense? And in the first quarter, thought they played pretty well. They've had some miscommunication between quarterback and receiver in quarter number 2 and quarter number 3. And now in quarter 4, the Calgary Stampeder defensive line is getting after it, and it's just like a red flood in front of Kerwin Bell on every single play.
Well, Ray Jacobs was forcing at that time. Lost to 23. Second and a whole bunch for Kerwin Bell. Far side. Stoddard made the catch. He's an Alberta boy. Stopped at the 50-yard line. Jamie Stoddard, number 88, out of the University of Alberta. CIU All-Canadian in '99 and getting his first chance.
Well, he made a nice catch. Well, obviously well short, but again, Kerwin Bell was dancing at the moment he took the snap. I mean, he was dancing around Calgary defensive line, rushing him the whole time, and you can't let patterns develop when you're rushed as a quarterback. It just, down the field, your receivers haven't had a chance to get open.
Another golden opportunity wasted for the Bombers after the turnover on the fumble by Rock Preston. Bob Cameron hammers this down to the 15. Marv Coleman tackled by the first wave of Bombers.
All right, Alan, it's time. This is the series, Mr. Pitts. Let's see it. We've watched 919 great ones. Let's see another one.
Well, since he tied Don Narcisse at 919, the Stampeders have really struggled with the passing game. They went to Pitts a couple of times on the goal line when he was in double coverage. And it hasn't worked out very well trying to get him number 920.
Well, this is it. Let's go. Let's see it now. And you know what? There's a whole bunch of people watching. There's not a guy in the whole stadium that doesn't want to get this thing over with more than Alan Pitts.
Stampeders beginning deep in Calgary territory inside the 20 at the 17. Dickinson had to bring it down. The Bombers were coming, and Dickinson was sacked. I think it was fairly fortunate he was able to hang on to the football, Glenn, with all that Bomber heat right there, and he's at the 17-yard line.
Tony Armstrong was involved, and Tony Armstrong over from the BC Lions got some pass rush, and they've had sporadic pressure throughout this game. Actually, it was Armstrong that registered the sack as well. So they've had sporadic pressure. At times they've looked good. They've got some help from their secondary rushing the passer. And then when they decide to sit back, Calgary's really taking it to them.
Here it is, 2nd and 17. Play action fake. Bo Richter made the catch, and the Stampeders will kick it away. Another sequence where Alan Pitts doesn't get a sniff at the football.
Running out of time. That time, it wasn't coverage on Alan Pitts. Wasn't double coverage on Alan Pitts. It was a defensive line up front and a linebacking core for Winnipeg that didn't allow Dave Dickinson to get the ball off to Alan Pitts. So he'll have to go and regroup on the sideline again and hope that he gets another crack at it, which he should.
Well, there's lots of time to get Alan Pitts the football. I think you want to do it on a nice catch, right?
Well, I think probably for him right now, he just wants to get any kind of catch.
Well, I suppose, but I don't mean you have to stretch out and play parallel to the field or anything, but you don't want just a little 4-yard dump, do you?
No, we don't. No. We want to see something Alan Pitts style.
Yeah.
Down the seam.
We're not fussy. Bombers could get good field position from this again. Albert Johnson the third. Markers everywhere, and he was running in circles that time. -8 on the return, 43 on the punt. Time running out on the Blue Bombers. It's the CFL Live from Calgary. Harvest Moon over McMahon Stadium in Calgary. It feels a little too early for fall. It's only the middle of August. Sports Desk tonight. Smith and Randorf, the next edition at 2 a.m. What do we got?
Well, interesting Argos Lions preview in a big game. Of course, they'll preview the PGA Championship as well and take a look at this game between the Bombers and the Stamps. But that's going to be an interesting game. The Argos and the Lions will be there tomorrow night, BC Place, and look forward to that preview because both teams desperate for a win.
Lots on the line at BC Place tomorrow night for both teams. And the Bombers with a good start here at McMahon in Calgary. Running out of ticks on the clock. They trail 30-16 and had the lead in the first half. 1st and 10 Winnipeg. Kerwin Bell at the controls. Looking deep far side and missed it by at least 6 yards. Albert Johnson III was the intended receiver. What a difference this Bomber team would be with Milt Stiegel on board.
Yeah, well, watch this. This is Albert Johnson, and we talked about miscommunication. Now, you tell me if he knows what to run. He gets the corner, and then he breaks out, and he goes, well, wait a minute, I'll go up here. No, hang on. Well, you want me up here? I don't know. This is not working.
Bombers hope to have Stiegel back in the lineup for next Friday night's game. Hamilton Tiger Cats will be at Winnipeg Stadium. 2nd and 10. Heat is on. DeRoy Simon made the catch and was surrounded quickly.
The frustration for Winnipeg fans watching this has got to be 2nd and 10, they throw a 6-yard pass. But I'll tell you, Kerwin Bell just has no time to throw the football. And it starts there, and it ends there, and it's over there. If you can't protect your quarterback, forget it. It's not going to happen. And Kerwin Bell has not had time to get the ball out of there.
Second half, 7 of 16 for 60 yards for Kerwin Bell. And it's a frustrating time for the Blue Bombers.
Well, it's a key change. You know, Rob Lazio playing in his first game up there for Winnipeg, placing Brett McNeil, and of course he lines up against Joe Fleming.
Low snap, Cameron digs it out, just got it away. He went down, and that will draw a penalty marker.
Yeah. First down, Winnipeg.
You don't play in the league 21 years without learning how to do this, do you?
Well, you learn how to do it, and this one in particular, he didn't have to do any acting. He got hit pretty good in that leg.
10-yard penalty, first down, Winnipeg.
Automatic first down. Get a nice look at it, but the leg was hit pretty hard. Again, 24 penalties, a lot of penalties in this game. Watch this. No acting necessary. Low snap took a little longer, and then pow. What he does, though, is he keeps that leg up in the air a little bit longer, because once the leg goes back down to the ground, he can be hit.
So Bill gets another crack at it. Still time to score 2 touchdowns. Play a little overtime.
There is time. There's lots of time.
Bell near side. Albert Johnson III went up, got his hands on it, couldn't bring it down.
Well, this is the thing, and this is the frustration for Kerwin Bell. Finally, the timing is right. Finally, the communication is right. And finally, for Winnipeg, Kerwin Bell has a little time to throw the football. And this time, Albert Johnson drops it.
2nd and 10, Winnipeg. Trailing by 2 touchdowns to the Calgary Stampeders. Bell looks to the far side, has got a target short of a first down. It's Howell, about a yard shy.
Well, you know what? I think this is a chance where you go for it. Right here. You're a yard. Even if you're a long yard, you just get in there and you got to go get it. Dave Ritchie knows it. You know what happened? The ball brought Marcus Howell back about a yard, and it's going to be a long yard, but I don't think there's any question that Dave Ritchie at this point in the game will have to gamble.
Ritchie hates the spot that he got because it is a long yard, but not 2.
It becomes longer when you have Joe Fleming, Shante Peoples up on that line. This is a big play for the Bombers. They want a chance.
At midfield, 3rd. And about 2 necessary, and no, sir.
No, they didn't get it. I don't think.
Not even close.
Unless they get a real generous spot, they did not get it.
No. Shante Peoples was waiting. And Stampeder fans are celebrating one more.
You know what, John? Again, it goes down to the offensive line. And that's where it starts and that's where it ends. And if you can't get a yard and a half when you really need it, you got a problem.
Well, the offensive line has new faces up there.
People, look at that. He just stood up, Mo Elowanibi. There was nowhere to go.
So the turnover on down sets Calgary up first and 10 at midfield. We're still waiting for one more catch for Alan Pitts. Dickinson couldn't spot him there. He was free for a moment, and Dickinson is wrapped up.
Well, you know, maybe we haven't given enough credit to this defense of the Calgary Stampeders, because whenever they've been backed up, they've come up with big plays. And I got to show you this again. Look, you have to give a yard. And then watch Shante People stand up Mo Elowanibi in his tracks, push him back, tackle Mo Elowanibi, tackle Corey Philpott, and then also spot the ball for the official and say, right here, they're short, bring on the offense.
Second down, Calgary. Dickinson looks for Pitts. No catch. Oh, the pressure is on a little bit here and now.
You know what? And
yeah, he's trying to squeeze it a little harder.
Yeah, he's squeezing the bat a little hard. There's the hit that Dickinson takes. It was the Pitts pattern, that seam, deeper curl seam pattern. He's open. He has it. Oh, he drops it. Oh man, he can't believe it.
And we all but guaranteed it would happen tonight. 5:15 to go.
Maybe we shouldn't write checks that we can't cash.
Was it you or me that suggested?
Well, I thought I guaranteed it, but we still got 5 minutes, and they'll definitely get the ball back at least one more time.
Maybe they'll have to go to something soft. Martino hammers this one down near the 10. This is Johnson to return. And the Stampeders gave up some early yards to Albert Johnson III, but not many since the second quarter.
Well, we've been giving a lot of credit to that defense, led by a guy who's been playing just about an inch off the ground all night. He's kind of floating tonight, because congratulations to Daddy Fleming.
Yeah, Joe and Stacy Fleming announced the arrival of Madeline Lee Fleming, August 15th, 8 pounds, 9 ounces. Now, the Rams also had a baby the same day, so there are 2 new Stampeder fans. Jaylene Ram.
Yeah.
And there's the Big Daddy.
The Big Daddy.
And the Proud Daddy.
You know, and speaking of dads, Kerwin Bell on the other sideline is flying back to Jacksonville, Florida right after this game, because his wife, Cosette, is expecting and overdue. So Kerwin Bell is looking for their third. It's a girl. They already know that. They're going to call her Kensley. So good luck with that for Kerwin Bell. He'll be a daddy for the 3rd time.
Yeah, we've been on the Fleming baby watch for a couple of games now, so we thought we'd better update that.
Yeah.
So there are 2 new Stampeder fans entering their first day cheering for the Calgary Stampeders, and the Flemings and the Rams are happy about that. Obviously, everyone's doing well, folks.
Congratulations to all dads.
2nd and 4. Bombers at the 16. 3:54 to go, and the receiver that Bell was looking for fell down on the far side. It's Robert Gordon.
Well, they'll have to punt, so here comes Alan Pitts with 3:51 left to catch that one. Okay, let's see. He's been double covered and couldn't come up with it. The defensive line for Winnipeg has come up with a couple of knockdowns intended for him and sacked Dave Dickinson when Dickinson was looking for him. He's had one and dropped it. Oh.
Yeah.
You think he's squeezing the golf club a little tighter?
I think maybe just a little bit. I know everybody at McMahon Stadium would like to see that record happen here tonight. He had a great first half. Whoa! Hammered at the 55, and flags go down.
You know what? In the type of physical game this has been, that's a good penalty if you're a Winnipeg Blue Bomber, because you know what it is? Yeah, we'll take the no yards penalty, but I got a great lick in.
No yards. Winnipeg 0-0. First down, Calgary.
Crunch time has been that kind of game.
Stampeders get a few more yards. 3:22 to go, make it 3:32 to go. Calgary with a comfortable 14-point lead. Dave Dickinson has one pass that he wants to complete tonight. It's to Alan Pitts to make him the all-time receptions leader in the CFL. He is currently tied after catching 8 tonight with Don Narcisse of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who set it last year. First down, Calgary. Dickinson looking for Pitts. Not that time. He found a rock, or Dwayne Ford, I should say.
John, another big hit, though. Oh, man. Another huge crack. And Dwayne Ford caught that ball. I mean, sheesh. Talk about violence. Listen to this. Man, you know why it's the most violent game in the world? Because you need a week before you can play again.
And for these two teams, this is their third game in 13 days. The schedule a little tight at this stage of things. 3 minutes to go. We're watching Alan Pitts and the Calgary Stampeders on CFL Live. Back in McMahon in Calgary, sold-out stadium tonight. Stampeders in control of this, 30-16. Looking at 2nd and 3. We're on the Alan Pitts watch. Waiting for one more catch. Not this time. Danielson makes it inside the 10.
John, just prior to that last play to Danielson, Alan Pitts was in the huddle talking to Dave Dickinson, and you know, receivers are often in there talking, but this time he looked like he had a plan for Dickinson. Now, it obviously didn't happen on that play. Danielson catches the ball, but Alan Pitts is in there now. He's going over there saying, okay, what pattern did you run? Because I want that one. He's in there talking to Dave Dickinson prior to this play. You know they're close. He's not happy with the call here. You can tell by the look on his face. Maybe this is a running play.
He just wants to get this over with, doesn't he?
Yeah, there's no question.
And get the pressure off. Stampeders first and goal to go inside the 10. Dickinson looks to the corner. There's Pitts. There it is. He's got it. More receptions than any receiver in CFL history. Take a bow, Alan Pitts.
Passes to number 18, Alan Pitts.
In Canadian Football League history, there is no equal. If you have been a fan of this game in the 90s, if you've been a fan of this game in the year 2000, you've watched the best receiver in Canadian Football League history play in Alan Pitts. And Alan, it has been a privilege to play against you and to watch you for 10 years. Amazing.
More receptions, more touchdowns, more yards, and a few other records along the way. No one compares to Alan Pitts. He is simply the best. And it's terrific that he can establish this record here in front of a sold-out stadium at McMahon. Meantime, the Stampeders can add another touchdown here. First and goal to go. And there's the touchdown. Dave Dickinson has a couple tonight. These guys are too good, aren't they?
Now they are the team to beat in the Canadian Football League, bar none right now. You know, and when you're going week 3, week 4, you don't want to say that too early because there's lots of football, but we're now going to... And there's the ball for Alan Pitts.
Ron Rook, Vice President of the Calgary Stampeders, making sure that Alan has the game ball, or at least the one that he caught. There's a little piece of tape on it to make sure they don't confuse it with any other footballs on the sidelines.
John, he got to 8 receptions in this game relatively easily for Alan Pitts, and that number 9, he earned it.
Yeah. I'm not so sure Dave Dickinson didn't fire about 7 at him before he caught number 920. And here it is.
Simple out pattern, very similar to the ball he caught in Edmonton a year ago that put him over the yardage mark. In fact, exactly the same play. He did that in Edmonton. here in front of a sold-out McMahon Stadium, he breaks the all-time catches record, passing Don Narcisse. And you know what?
And they're still cheering him.
Well, we still got some football to play. How high will that total go?
Well, the crowd is still standing on the far side of the field and still cheering Alan Pitts for a remarkable accomplishment.
Boy, he's been fun to watch. You know, John, when you look at his career and you think about what he has done, not only in the regular season, those are the numbers we're talking about now, but, you know, the real season in football for any player or any team is playoff time and, of course, the Grey Cup games. Alan Pitts in 13 playoff games has averaged 95 yards a game, close to 100 yards a game in every playoff game he's been in his career. In Grey Cups, he's played in 5. He's averaged 72 yards a game in those 5. He just game in and game out, and when the games are huge, he gets big.
Albert Johnson returning to about the 40-yard line, and a marker goes down over there as Alan Pitts remains at the Stampeder bench, just savoring the moments. 9 catches tonight to break the record. This is number 9.
And he almost punched it in for the touchdown
Major foul
on the record breaker.
Unnecessary roughness.
And guess
Winnipeg
what?
number 40,
Rio Wells will be
down.
the answer to that trivia question.
And you suggested that earlier, didn't you? You had him picked out.
Well, John, we guaranteed it, and we came through.
Yeah. And we never let you down.
Thanks, Alan. Appreciate it. And I'll tell you what, thanks for an unbelievable career. And, of course, we look forward to watching him the rest of this season. And, hey, next season,
How much has he done to elevate the standard of this Calgary Stampeder receiving corps? How much has Alan Pitts contributed by what he's brought to the game?
You know what? It's not just what he does on game day. It's not just what Pitts does on game day. It's what he does on practice day. It's what he does in pregame warm-up, in the meeting room. He is a complete professional. He's the first one on the field, the last one to leave it, constantly refining his skills, constantly trying to improve himself. Even at this stage in his career, he continues to work on getting himself in top shape, make sure that he knows every single play, every single read. He's in the meeting rooms. And when you're a young receiver and you see that happen, you can't help but try and keep up with him, try and learn from him. And boy, he does more than just catch passes on game day, I guarantee you that.
Well, this receiving corps in Calgary has been outstanding pretty well through the 90s. We talked about Alan Pitts joining Wally Buono here to begin the decade, and the Stampeders have set some high standards. They've had great quarterbacks, and they've put some superb receivers on the football field. Of course, Alan Pitts is the best of them all. Any team, any time in Canadian football.
Well, Wally Buono said it in the press conference. He said, you know what? If Pitts gets the record in that game, we win. Because that's a lot of catches, and if he's having that kind of game, it likely means we win. And, of course, they will go on to win this game and be the only unbeaten team in the Canadian Football League at this point.
And on the other side of the field, Dave Ritchie, thinking about all of the Alan Pitts records that have been broken. And he seemed to think that he'd been here, well, or for many of them, playing the Calgary Stampeders. That was his thought yesterday at the news conference.
Well, he's got a trophy case full of footballs. Game balls, 100-yard game balls, record-breaking game balls. He needs a big house.
Kerwin Bell looks to the far side. Johnson gets spun around. I hate to bring this up, partner, but did you ever see number 18 going the wrong way?
Yeah. Oh, I knew you'd bring it up. What do you mean you hate to bring it up? Yeah, I saw that name tag a couple of times in my career playing against him. And you know what the thing about it is, and what he also brings to this team, is I remember game planning against the Calgary Stampeders. Of course, at that time, they had Doug Flutie playing quarterback, and we knew they were, number one, the team to beat, always in the CFL. And number two, we had to spend so much attention to Alan Pitts. We put the whole game plan together around how you tried to stop him. Then you went out, and by the second quarter, he's got 100 yards, and you're going, oh, so much for that game plan. And it's obviously very frustrating for defenses because whether you double, triple team him, he finds a way to get open.
Well, is there any question who should get the Adidas game ball tonight? No. In spite of the fact that Travis Moore scored 2 touchdowns, Dave Dickinson passed for a bunch of yards, a couple of touchdowns, and ran for 2. Alan Pitts gets it for 9 catches tonight. And the remarkable record he established. 1:39 to go. Bombers 2 and out again. And Stampeders get the ball back. Travis Moore. Moore looking for a little seam. Not a bad return. He's out near the 50. And the Stampeders have wrapped this one up with a big red bow.
You know what? Cal State Fullerton should be proud tonight. That's where Alan Pitts played his college football. Cal State Fullerton happens to be the same school that Damon Allen played. He's looking at a couple of records of his own over in BC. And 1990 was the rookie season for Alan Pitts here in Calgary. That year had over 1,000 yards. In fact, in his entire career, only twice did he not reach 1,000. And those 2 years he was injured and didn't play the full 18 games.
Dickinson will give way to Troy Kopp for the final few Stampeders sequences. Kopp gives it to Rock Preston out for about 9.
Now Troy Kopp gets a couple of reps to mop up this game, and that's what he has done this year. Just limited action, obviously. Dave Dickinson has been the guy. And you know, for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, again, they got off to a pretty good start, played well on special teams. They definitely had some communication problems on offense. I thought their offensive line struggled in this football game against a tough defense in Calgary.
Here's Rock Preston again as the Stampeders try and take the final minute off the clock with a comfortable 37-16 advantage on Winnipeg.
You know, Johnny, the Calgary Stampeders have made a lot of offenses look pretty poor throughout this season.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what they've added up front defensively, when you look at Joe Fleming and Shante Peoples, I mean, that's been a terrific acquisition. Check us out on the internet. You know how to do this, www.tsn.ca/CFL. And Glenn Suter would likely have something to say if you checked in
I barely
his
know.
particular website. Did you write this week about something?
I haven't yet, no. But
well, you could write about Alan Pitts.
That would be the topic, yeah, no question about it. And what a career it has been for Mr. Pitts.
Well, he's still in the game.
You know what? And you know what the type of person Alan Pitts is? He got the record tonight, and he got it in dramatic fashion. But what will be more important to him is that the Calgary Stampeders won the football game.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Without question. On 3rd and a couple of inches to go. Stampeders turn up another first down. Alan Pitts will be pretty happy about this milestone, but I don't think I've ever seen him happier than opening night, season 2000, when he threw a 25-yard touchdown pass to Dave Dickinson.
Yeah.
Remember the elation? I mean, tonight when he came off the field, there was relief on his face because he had achieved that goal, but absolute excitement when he tossed the touchdown pass to Dave Dickinson.
I asked Dave about that, and he said, yeah, he keeps bugging me. He's been bugging me all week after that throw because he's got a better completion percentage than I do. 1 for 1, 100%.
It was week 1 against the Edmonton Eskimos. Dickinson, the receiver. Pitts, the quarterback.
Little reverse and throw back to Dave Dickinson. Boy, he was pretty pumped up. 1 for 1, 100%. He's perfect as a passer in the year 2000. I'll tell you what.
There's the smile I was talking about there.
I'll tell you what, he's as perfect as they come as a receiver in Canadian Football League history. Alan Pitts is the best.
And that's all she wrote for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. At McMahon Stadium tonight, the drought continues for Winnipeg. The Stampeders keep rolling on. Next week, it'll be Calgary and the Montreal Alouettes from Molson Stadium in Montreal. We'll have that one for you on Adidas Friday Night Football. So the 2 best in the league meet next week. The Calgary Stampeders proved to be vastly superior to the Blue Bombers on Alan Pitts night at McMahon Stadium.